Chapter 418. When they were only 30 to 50 steps away from the top of the mountain, the patriarch of the High Qian sect estimated that he could reach the top. He couldn't suppress his emotions, and shouted to vent his grievances. However, at this moment, Jun Changshao supported Shi Jingxian and walked up the stairs. The patriarch of the High Qian sect was petrified. His heart relaxed and his body collapsed. He staggered and sat on the stairs weakly. No, impossible. Looking at the man and woman who continued to climb, the patriarch of the High Qian sect said in disbelief. Impossible. He could accept that someone had surpassed him. After all, he had been surpassed by third-rate sects many times in the past. However, that man and woman climbed up as if nothing had happened. This was unacceptable. The disciples of the High Qian sect behind them were already paralyzed. Sect leader Jun and palace master, she had brought them too much shock. They couldn't calm down at all. Tap tap. After a while, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others climbed up from the side of the High Qian sect disciples. Their expressions didn't change. Their bodies were still a little hot. The corners of the High Qian sect disciples' mouths twitched violently. Who were these people? They could still be so relaxed when they were about to reach the top of the mountain. The High Qian sect, which was originally confident of victory, was surpassed by Jun Changshao and the iron-boned disciples one by one. They could only continue to watch them reach the top from the perspective of the eternal second place. It could be said that it was tragic. At the top of the mountain, Jun Changshao supported Shi Jingxian and finally stepped on the smooth stone ground. A slightly cold breeze blew in his face, making him feel very comfortable. Ding! Congratulations to host for completing the hidden mission, coming later. You have received 500 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 5461500. Ding! The sect's contribution points are overflowing. Jun Changshao was stunned. This is also considered a hidden mission? Sect leader Jun Shi Jingxian said. Have we reached the top? Yes. Jun Changshao said. Not only did we reach the top, but we're also first. Really? Shi Jingxuan's pretty face lit up with happiness. Although she wasn't too obsessed with being the first to reach the top, she was naturally overjoyed to be able to do so. Last time, Shi Jingxian was one step ahead of the others, but the disciples were not strong enough. Now Jun Changshao could ignore gravity, not to mention helping her to the summit of Mount Hua. As long as there was no end to the stairs, he could reach the 9 heavens. Men and women were ultimately different. After feeling happy, Shi Jingxian realized that he was still supporting her. She hurriedly withdrew her arm and took 2 steps to the side. Jun Changshao said, Palace Master Shi, Jun only wants to bring you to the summit of Mount Hua. I don't have any improper thoughts. I know. Shi Jingxian said in a low voice. When she thought of how he had supported her all the way up, her cheeks immediately flushed red and hot. She had grown up in the ingenious flower palace, so she had never been so intimate with a man before. Who? Jun Changshao opened his arms and took a deep breath. The air here is fresher than at the foot of the mountain, Shi Jingxian said. I heard that the scenery at the top of the mountain is the most beautiful. Jun Changshao looked up at the sea of clouds in the distance and couldn't help but say, It's magnificent. After saying that, he suddenly remembered that even if the scenery at the top of the mountain was excellent, Shi Jingxian couldn't see it. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao was afraid that she would be depressed, so he hurriedly changed the topic. There's a stone platform in front of us. Is it where the sect's martial arts competition is held? Yes. Shi Jingxian nodded. Jun Changshao said. Do you want me to help you over, or do you want to walk over yourself? Shi Jingxian said with a red face. I'll walk over myself. As long as the path wasn't too rugged, it wouldn't be too much of a problem for her to walk over. Please. Jun Changshao followed behind, afraid that she would accidentally trip on a stone. This wasn't the concern between a man and a woman, but because she had an eye disease and was a gentle woman. As a man, he naturally had to take care of her and take responsibility. On the way, Jun Changshao was thinking about whether he should give Shi Jingxian a mid-grade healing pill to try his luck. Forget it. If he couldn't cure her disease and expose the fact that he had a pill that could quickly heal her injuries, then the loss would outweigh the gain. Li Qingyang and the others also climbed up the mountain one after another. They weren't in the mood to look at the scenery and followed behind the sect master. The stone platform was very big. It looked more like a martial arts arena. When they reached the top of the stairs, Sect Master Jun was about to help Shi Jingxian over. Sect Master. Lu Qianqian walked over and helped Shi Jingxian. She said lightly, "Let me do this kind of thing." Okay. Everyone stood on the stone platform that was as smooth as a mirror. Jun Changshao sized it up and said, "Palace Master Shi, what is the purpose of the sect's martial arts competition?" "It's nothing," Shi Jingxian said. "It's just to discuss martial arts together." As expected. How was this a martial arts competition on Mount Hua? This was bragging on Mount Hua. Whoosh whoosh. After about an hour, the patriarch of the Haiqian sect and a group of disciples reached the peak of Mount Hua with great difficulty. When they saw Jun Changshao and the others standing on the stone platform first, they couldn't help but cry in their hearts. Following that, more sects also came up. And that originally spacious stone platform was now filled with 200 to 300 martial cultivators. If it was in the past, they would have already communicated in private. But now they were all staring at Jun Changshao, Li Qingyang and the others. Palace Master Shi. The patriarch of the Haiqian sect rested for a while and couldn't help but ask, "Who are these people?" The martial cultivators of the various sects pricked up their ears. They were very curious. Which sect did the group of people who suddenly appeared and reached the peak first come from? Without waiting for Shi Jingxian to introduce them, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Iron Bone Zheng Sect's sect leader Jun Changshao." As soon as he said this, the entire place fell silent. The elders of the various sects looked at him in disbelief. The patriarch of the Haiqian sect said in surprise, "Is it that Iron Bone Zheng sect that brought his disciples to destroy 4 evil sects and scared away the peak of the martial king?" "That's right," Jun Changshao said. Sorry. The patriarch of the Haiqian sect said, his heart on the verge of collapse. He originally thought that the person who surpassed him would be a disciple of a large sect, but he didn't expect it to be a sect leader of a 7th-rate sect. The elders of the various sects couldn't keep their faces. During this period of time, they had heard of what the Iron Bone had done and knew that Wu Huang was overseeing it. However, in terms of rank, it was still only a 7th-rate sect. Sect leader Jun, a 5th-rate sect leader, said, "In the previous Mount Hua martial arts competition, all the participants were sects and powers. Isn't it a bit inappropriate for you, Iron Bone, to come here? Looks like it's necessary to set up rules to prohibit sects below the 5th rate from participating in the Mount Hua martial arts competition. I've said this before, but you didn't take it seriously at all. It's not that we didn't take it seriously, but we didn't expect that there would really be a sect that overestimated themselves and dared to come to Mount Hua to join in the fun." Everyone spoke one after another. They had a lot of opinions about the Iron Bone coming to Mount Hua martial arts competition. Jun Changshao had already expected this situation. "Everyone." He shook his head and said unhurriedly, "You've misunderstood." "Misunderstood?" Jun Changshao continued. "I didn't come to Mount Hua today to participate in this useless and trashy martial arts competition. I brought my disciples here to see the scenery." Chapter 419. Trash sparring? Jun Changxiao's words immediately angered the elders of the various sections. Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. "Is the sect leader trying to stir up trouble?" "I'm sorry," Jun Changxiao said. "I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just saying that other than Miaohua Palace, everyone else here is trash." Jiangya almost fell over. "My sect leader is a bit arrogant." "What an arrogant brat. Does he really think that he can show off in front of us after scaring away the elders of the deicide temple? If it weren't for the fact that I'm close to Palace Master Shi, I wouldn't have let a small Iron Bone sect leader like you spout nonsense at the peak of Mount Hua." The elders of the various sects were furious. If it weren't for Jiang Ye's martial king aura, they would have attacked him already. Smack! Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. Xiao Ziji took out a chair and placed it behind him. He sat down elegantly, crossed his legs and crossed his arms. "Mount Hua is an ownerless place. You guys can have your sparring sessions, and I'll enjoy the scenery. Let's not disturb each other. Li Qingyang felt a little dizzy. My dear sect leader, you already said that they're trash. It's unrealistic for them to enjoy the scenery here. The patriarch of the Haiqian sect said with a sullen face. The place you're sitting at is where we sparring. If you want to enjoy the scenery, go somewhere else. He was furious that he had been snatched away from him, and was reduced to second place. All right. Jun Changshao shrugged and stood up. A bunch of people who only know a little about martial arts are shamelessly discussing martial arts at the peak of Mount Hua. How ridiculous. This guy must have eaten gunpowder today. His mouth is full of bullets. Humph. The patriarch of the Haiqian sect said coldly. So, sect leader Jun seems to have a deeper understanding of martial arts. Not bad. Jun Changshao said. I'm a little stronger than you guys. The elders of the various sects looked at him with disdain. Really? The patriarch of the Haiqian sect clasped his hands behind his back and said proudly. I would like to experience sect master Jun's martial arts. Forget it, forget it. Jun Changshao sat down again and said, I have nothing to do. Today, I will discuss martial arts with all of you big shots. These words, this manner. He really deserved a beating. The reason why Jun Changshao was so arrogant and egotistical was because of the side quest participate in the Huashan Martial Arts Symposium and discuss the Tao of martial arts with the leaders of the various sections. Judging from the behavior of the elders of the various sects, he did not think that he would be allowed to participate in the discussion of martial arts. Thus, he could only infuriate them. Arrogant junior, what profound martial arts attainments do you have at such a young age? Patriarch Lin can ask him any question, and he will be left speechless. The elders of the various sects couldn't wait to throw out a bunch of questions about martial arts, and turn Jun Changshao into an idiot. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect naturally could not tolerate this young junior being so arrogant, and said coldly, Sect leader Jun, I have a lot of questions about martial arts, and would like to ask you for guidance today. No problem. Jun Changshao crossed his legs again, and placed his hands on top of them. With a look of arrogance he said, However, a person's ability is always limited. What I am good at is martial arts mental cultivation method. The elders of the various sects all sneered. Most of the questions about martial arts were related to the mental cultivation method of martial arts. A guy who hadn't even grown hair was good at it. Then please teach me your martial arts mental cultivation method. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect took out a rather brand new secret manual and said proudly, During this period of time, I have studied a palm technique. It is estimated that there are a total of 9 moves, but I have only comprehended the first 5 moves. I hope that sect leader Jun can help me perfect it. The elders of the various sects looked at him with admiration. In the Falling Star continent, to be able to create a palm technique, one could definitely be considered a martial arts master. If one's level was higher, one would definitely be a martial arts master. Moreover, not everyone could create their own martial technique, even if it was of the lowest grade. Jun Changshao said, I will reluctantly give you some pointers. This was truly arrogant. The amount of hatred he pulled was also very high. The elders of the various sects couldn't wait to surround him and throw out all sorts of martial arts problems, suppressing him to the point that he couldn't breathe. Sect leader Jun, the Upper Qian sect, threw over the secret manual and said indifferently, Please. Jun Changshao caught it, and when he flipped to the first page, the middle-grade insight talisman in the space ring was formed, and a gush of profound martial arts instantly filled his sea of consciousness. After flipping through a few pages, he said, To be able to create such an early middle-rank palm technique, your understanding of martial arts is not bad. What? Early middle rank? Patriarch Lin's martial arts attainments are high. The elders of the various sects all began to admire him. A mid-grade martial arts was not something that an ordinary martial arts master could comprehend. Patriarch Lin's participation in the martial arts symposium this time was to show off his semi-finished martial arts to show off. Everything was as he had expected. When the elders of the various sects learned about this palm technique, their eyes revealed admiration. However, Patriarch Lin was not in the mood to enjoy the pleasure of showing off. Instead, he thought to himself in surprise, this child can casually flip through the pages and see through the rank. Could it be that he really has some skills? Patriarch Lin, right? Jun Changxiao flipped back to the first page and said, although this palm technique is an early middle rank, your first move has a huge flaw. Even if you have comprehended it successfully, its power is only at the mortal rank. Impossible, Patriarch Lin vowed. I have studied the first move for more than half a year. It is impossible for there to be any flaws. Sect leader Jun, if you don't understand, then don't speak nonsense. A sect elder said indifferently. Patriarch Lin has already created many mortal rank martial arts. If there is really a problem, how can he not see it? Everyone looked at him with disdain. Obviously, they did not think that Patriarch Lin's palm technique was flawed. Jun Changxiao ignored everyone's sarcasm and pointed at the circulation meridian map. If you adjust these two meridians, the flaws can be easily solved. Changing the meridians randomly, aren't you afraid of going mad? If you don't have the ability to point out the flaws, then you are a scourge. With Patriarch Lin's understanding of martial arts, he will definitely refute this. The elders of the various sects whispered and looked at Jun Changxiao with gloating eyes. They were waiting for the patriarch of the Shangqian sect to use more advanced martial arts to slap his face. However, Patriarch Lin came over and looked at the two areas that Jun Changxiao pointed at. He was stunned at first, then fell silent. After a while, a trace of understanding appeared in his eyes. His martial arts attainment was not bad, and he liked to study martial arts when he had nothing to do. Naturally, he could analyze the changes in these 2 points more comprehensively. I see. Patriarch Lin's brain turned and he suddenly understood. I see. The elders of the various sects saw that he seemed to have woken up from a dream and thought to themselves in astonishment. Could it be that this guy really pointed out the flaws in the martial arts technique with just a few blind pointers? Jun Changxiao turned to the second page and pointed at the two flaws. Patriarch Lin, if you make a slight adjustment here, the power of the second move will be greatly increased. Patriarch Lin fell silent. After a while, a look of understanding appeared on his face, and he even nodded subconsciously. That makes sense. Jun Changxiao flipped to the next few pages and pointed out the flaws in the palm technique one by one, and gave his own suggestions and opinions. Patriarch Lin, who was confident in the martial arts technique he created, sometimes fell silent, sometimes became enlightened, as if he had opened a door and entered a whole new world of martial arts. Sect leader Jun. When he finally understood, he cupped his hands in respect and said, "You are truly a martial arts master." Chapter 420. The path of martial arts was broad and profound. Sometimes, inadvertent changes could play a crucial role. Jun Changxiao's guidance seemed casual, but it was actually profound and exquisite. It made the palm technique more perfect and outstanding. Of course, in this world, there might be stronger martial arts masters who could modify martial arts techniques to the extreme from another perspective. After Patriarch Lin analyzed it carefully, he was immediately filled with admiration for Jun Changxiao. He only made some small changes to the details, but it made the entire palm technique sublime. This was something he could never do. The elders of the various sects, who were expecting Patriarch Lin to use his profound martial arts to refute and slap his face, turned ugly when they heard him call Jun Changxiao a martial arts master. It turned out that they were the ones who were slapped in the face. Patriarch Lin, one of the elders said, Sect Master Jun only improved the moves you comprehended. He didn't deduce the rest of the palm technique. This, Patriarch Lin approved of Jun Changxiao's understanding of martial arts. He was able to point out the flaws of the palm technique he created with just a few words. But when he handed over the secret manual, he also said that he hoped to comprehend the rest of the moves. Everyone, Patriarch Lin said, the derivation of the rest of the moves is not something that can be done overnight. Sect Master Jun has already proven himself by pointing out the flaws of the first few moves. Everyone fell silent. What else could they say when the fourth-rate Patriarch Qian Sect said so? Patriarch Lin. Jun Changshao said. It won't take long for me to comprehend the rest of the palm technique. Patriarch Lin's expression froze. He gave him a way out, but he didn't take it. Instead, he continued to climb up. Humph. One of the elders said indifferently, Sect Master Jun, aren't you afraid that the wind at the peak of Mount Hua will cut your tongue? We want to see how Sect Master Jun will comprehend the rest of the moves. The elders of the various sects, who were originally planning to beat the drum and retreat, saw that he jumped out to show off again. Naturally, they continued to attack. Jun Changshao said, let this seat think for a while. How long is this a while? A big shot asked. Everyone's time was precious. If he spent 3 to 5 days studying it, it would be a little troublesome. Not much. Jun Chang smiled and said, just a quarter of an hour. 15 minutes? Everyone's eyes were filled with intense disdain. This kid looks young, but his ability to brag is quite strong. Patriarch Lin was stunned. Sect Master Jun, I spent several months studying the 5th move of the palm technique. Are you sure you only need a quarter of an hour to deduce the 6th move? Jun Changshao said, what I mean is deduce all the moves that can be developed in the future in 15 minutes. Patriarch Lin's mouth twitched. It was already impossible to deduce the 6th move in a quarter of an hour, let alone deduce all the other moves. Was he kidding? Since that's the case, we'll wait quietly for Sect Master Jun. After a quarter of an hour, we'll deduce the follow-up moves of the martial arts created by Patriarch Lin. The elders of the various sects sneered. Did this guy think that he had some ability and could really soar to the heavens? Jun Changshao began to think seriously. His brain cells worked crazily, forming intricate patterns in his sea of consciousness. These patterns were like martial cultivators, repeating the palm technique's mnemonic chant and meridians. If Jun Changshao was given a blank piece of paper and asked to draw a picture on it, it was absolutely impossible. However, if there was a half-finished picture on the paper, he could use the mid-grade insight talisman to repair the lines and finally complete the picture. This was the meaning of studying Patriarch Lin's palm technique. As long as someone started, the follow-up moves would definitely be able to follow. Whoosh! After a while, after tens of thousands of derivations, Jun Changshao turned his right hand, gathered spiritual energy in his palm, and suddenly cut through the void. Patriarch Lin, he said, this is the 6th move. Seeing this, Patriarch Lin's eyes were immediately filled with astonishment. Jun Changshao's seemingly ordinary attack just now contained the power of the purest yang. It was obviously compatible with the palm technique he created. Could it be that? Did he really comprehend the 6th move? Whoosh! At this moment, Jun Changshao gathered spiritual energy again and performed an extremely powerful palm technique, condensing a faint palm print in midair. He said, this is the 7th move. Bang! Bang! Then, the figure in his sea of consciousness continued to perform and overlap, performing the 8th move and the 9th move in succession. The power of the 2 palms continued to increase, and the spiritual energy that spread out was emitting the purest yang aura. Patriarch Lin was dumbfounded. When he carefully recalled the 4 moves he performed in succession just now, he found that these moves were perfectly compatible with his previous 5 moves. They were definitely not performed casually. Give me a pen, Jun Changshao said. Xiao Ziji handed over a pen and ink. Jun Changshao first thought for a while, then quickly wrote on the last few blank pages of the secret manual. Soon, the next 4 moves were written in the secret manual. Not only were the moves and the circulation of the meridians recorded, there were also quite detailed annotations. Whoosh! Jun Changshao threw the completed secret manual of the palm technique over and said, Patriarch Lin, please take a look. The leaders of the various sects were a bit confused. Did he really comprehend it, or did he just draw something casually in an attempt to bluff his way through? Patriarch Lin hurriedly flipped through the secret manual. When he saw the 6th move, he was deeply immersed in it and could not extricate himself. The move, the circulation of the meridians, and the various annotations shocked him. His hands that were holding the secret manual began to tremble. The 6th move that Jun Changshao created was perfectly compatible with the previous 5 moves. It was even impeccable. Even if Patriarch Lin could comprehend it and create it, he would never have thought that the subsequent palm technique could be structured and played in such a way. In one word, perfect. In two words, perfect to the extreme. Patriarch Lin, who could not calm down, flipped through the remaining 3 moves one after another. The inspiration and shock he received was very intense. The leaders of the various sects could see from his facial expression and the changes in his eyes that the 4 moves that Jun Changshao created were definitely not drawn casually. Could it be that this guy really had the ability to complete the half-completed palm technique in less than a quarter of an hour? This was too shocking. Even if it was the lowest level palm technique, it was extremely difficult to deduce the subsequent moves in such a short time. Others might not be able to do it, but Jun Changshao could. Because he had the talisman of insight, and because he confidently turned on a cheat. Sect Master Lin closed the secret manual and cupped his fists in the most sincere tone. Sect Master Jun's understanding of martial arts is truly admirable. He was convinced. He was convinced to prostrate himself in admiration. Jun Changshao said, "The path of martial arts is unpredictable. Perhaps there are strong people who can create moves that are even more profound than Jun's." Obtaining the recognition of the Patriarch of the Haiqian sect meant that half of the side mission was completed. Naturally, there was no need to force others. When it was time to keep a low profile, it was time to keep a low profile. Patriarch Lin shook his head and said, "In my opinion, the 4 moves that Sect Master Jun deduced are absolutely perfect. No one in the world can compare to them." Chapter 421. When Jun Changshao taught them the first few moves of the palm technique, the elders of the various sects thought that the other party was just lucky. It wasn't until the later moves of the palm technique were completed that they realized that the other party was really strong. No one in the world could compare to him. Patriarch Lin's high evaluation made them realize that the other party's strength was definitely not ordinary. "Patriarch Lin, you flatter me," Jun Changshao said modestly. At this time, even if he wasn't arrogant and didn't forcefully attract hatred, the elders of the various sects would definitely actively discuss martial arts with him. As expected, a sect elder who had remained silent all this time cupped his hands and said, "This old man is cultivating a mental cultivation technique. Because I can't understand it to a higher level, I hope sect leader Jun can give me some pointers." Jun Changshao said, "We are all people of the pugilistic world, and we are discussing martial arts on Mount Hua. Naturally, I am willing to give you some pointers." The corners of Jiangya and Li Qingyang's mouths twitched. Didn't he just say that he came to Mount Hua to see the scenery? Now that he was going to give pointers to the sect elders. Wasn't it the same as participating in the sect's martial arts discussion? Nonsense. If I don't participate in the sect's martial arts discussion and discuss martial arts with them, how the hell am I going to complete the side mission? The sect elder whose strength had reached the peak of Wuzong secretly told Jun Changshao about the mental cultivation technique that had puzzled him for many years. TSK. What he cultivated was a high-grade mental cultivation technique. If he and the sect didn't have a divine mental cultivation technique, like the body metamorphosis scripture, Jun Changshao would definitely learn it and throw it into the technique pavilion for the disciples to cultivate. After comprehending it for a while, sect leader Jun explained it to the sect leader. The sect leader was enlightened. "Sigh." After a while, he said rather shamefully, "This old man cultivated for more than 10 years and actually didn't discover such a simple problem." Jun Changshao said, "The onlooker sees more clearly than the person involved." The patriarch cupped his hands and said, "Sect leader Jun's explanation has benefited this old man greatly." Sect Master Jun, the patriarch of the Upper Qian sect, who had just recovered from the palm technique, said, "I also have a martial arts problem that I hope you can answer." "No problem." Sect leader Jun, who was using a cheat, naturally hoped that the big shots of the various sects would voice out their questions, because this was absolutely in line with the mission's conditions. The middle grade insight talisman lasted for 60 minutes. Jun Changshao stood on the stone platform, and gave pointers to the elders of the various sects for 60 minutes. It could be said that he didn't reject anyone. During this period of time, many disciples from other sects asked questions. After they received answers, they all fell silent. They were all impressed by sect leader Jun's profound martial arts. Because there were too many people, there were also too many problems. A single intermediate insight talisman was definitely not enough to solve all of them. Jun Changshao crushed another piece of paper and continued to enlighten them. Speaking of which, it was strange. The effect of the second talisman was about to dissipate. Most of the people had discussed martial arts with him, but the side quest just couldn't be completed. Could it be that everyone here has to discuss before the mission is completed? Jun Changshao muttered in his heart. Sect leader Jun, at this moment Shi Jingxian, who was standing at the side, said, "I also have a martial arts problem that I would like to consult with you." He had asked all the elders of the various sects who had participated in the Huashan Martial Arts Symposium, but she was the only one who had not spoken. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "Based on my friendship with Palace Master Shi, I can ask you 10 times, let alone one." Shi Jingshuan's face immediately turned red. Obviously, she had a slight misunderstanding of the word friendship. When the elders of the various sects saw the palace master of Miaohua Palace blushing, and remembered how Jun Changshao helped her up the mountain peak, they secretly guessed that the two of them had an extraordinary relationship. The man was handsome and valiant. The woman was an outstanding beauty. The two of them were both sect leaders, and they were a talented man and a beautiful woman. They could be considered a match made in heaven. The funniest thing in the world was that Jun Changshao was still single based on his strength, and a group of people were helping him to get out of it with their fantasies. It was believed that many readers were worried sick about sect leader Jun's marriage. Shi Jingxian told him about the martial arts problem that troubled her. She also talked about a mental cultivation method called the dust-smoke eye barrier technique. A woman with an eye disease cultivating a mental cultivation method that covered her eyes with dust and smoke was really a bit fucked up. However, when Jun Changshao began to comprehend and deduce, he suddenly understood. This was a special mental cultivation method. Only martial cultivators, who could truly see everything, could comprehend it to the extreme. Even if Jun Changshao could use the insight talisman to easily spy on it, it would be difficult for him to cultivate it perfectly. Unless he went to the extreme and poked his eyes blind, he would explore the more profound mysteries in the true darkness. It had the meaning of, if you want to cultivate this technique, you must first castrate yourself. Shi Jingxian was born with an eye disease, so it was undoubtedly the most suitable for her to cultivate the dust-smoke eye barrier technique. Palace Master Shi. Jun Changshao was silent for a moment before saying, "Although this mental cultivation method is profound and unfathomable, you can't be too hasty when cultivating it. Otherwise, it's easy to go berserk. As for your confusion, in Jun's opinion, it's just that you want to comprehend a higher level too much, so you can't calm down and figure it out properly." Shi Jingxian said, "I've been trying to figure it out for a long time." Jun Changshao said in a low voice, "This mental cultivation method needs to be done step by step, and secondly, it needs to be cultivated with the heart. Palace Master, she just needs to grasp these 2 points, and sooner or later, you will comprehend it to the extreme." "I understand." Shi Jingxian smiled brightly and said, "Thank you, sect leader Jun, for your explanation." Understand? To be honest, she didn't really understand. But since it was sect leader Jun who said it, she would definitely remember it in her heart and cultivate it more carefully according to the 2 points. Ding! Side mission completed. Obtained 1,000 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 6461500. Ding! Overflow of contribution points. No wonder it hadn't been completed. It turned out that he hadn't discussed martial arts with Shi Jingxian. "Everyone." Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "This seat has given you all pointers. I'll take my disciples to see the scenery first." He didn't want to participate in the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium from the start. Now that the mission was completed, he didn't want to stay here for even a second. After all, there was no point in doing anything other than acting cool. The patriarch of the Upper Qian sect said, Sect leader Jun's martial arts are broad and profound. Your disciples must have benefited a lot. I hope to see it for myself. How? Jun Changshao asked. Patriarch Lin cupped his hands and said, My sect's disciples and your sect's disciples will have a friendly exchange of pointers. It wasn't a provocation. He really wanted to see what the Iron Bone disciples were capable of under sect leader Jun's guidance. Jun Changshao definitely didn't want to waste time with fighting chapters. So he opened his mouth to refuse. But before he could open his mouth, a notification sounded. Ding! Side mission activated. Why is it here again? He opened the Sect system panel. The mission was, bring disciples to the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium, and exchange pointers with the disciples of the various sects. Incomplete. Fuck. The more I don't want to play, the more I have to play. This must be on purpose. The system said. The host can bring disciples away. At most, the mission will fail. Scram. Jun Changshao cursed in his heart. Then he cupped his hands and said, If that's the case, then let's exchange pointers. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others' eyes burned with passion. The participants of the Mount Hua Martial Arts Symposium were all 4th and 5th-rate sections. Many of their disciples were quite strong. They naturally wanted to fight with them. Chapter 422. The Battle of the Sacred Spring Sect. More than 70 consecutive victories had been widely spread in the Jianghu. Sect leader Jun's knowledge of martial arts was extremely high. With just a few words he could enlighten them. The disciples he trained must also be extraordinary. In the past, the disciples of the various sects fought with each other to test their martial arts. This time, it was different because they hoped to fight with the Iron Bone disciples. Coincidentally, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others also hoped to spar with the disciples of the various sections. Firstly, they wanted to test their recent cultivation. Secondly, they wanted to see if they were better than the Sacred Spring Sect disciples. In the end, they were disappointed. Bang! On the empty stone platform, Xiao Ziji sent the inner disciple of the Shangqian sect flying with a clean punch. Below the platform, there were already 6 people who had been defeated. The corners of the elders' mouths twitched. This Iron Bone disciple fought 7 rounds in a row, and didn't use any fancy martial arts. He relied on his strong physical body to send the Shangqian sect disciple flying. His performance was too powerful. Qingyang, Jun Changshao said, Go and spar with the Shangqian sect disciples. Yes. Li Qingyang went on stage and Xiao Ziji went down. The patriarch of the Shangqian sect continued to send disciples to fight. In the end, they were defeated one after another. They lost cleanly, and without any hesitation. Because this was a friendly spar on Mount Hua. Although Li Qingyang suppressed them, his attacks were relatively gentle. The defeated cultivators were not injured. After a while, another 5 rounds, including the previous round, the Shangqian sect sent 12 disciples to fight. All of them were defeated. It could be said that it was difficult to win. The Shangqian sect's face was extremely ugly. If the disciples could fight to a standstill with the Iron Bone disciples, and then be defeated, it was still acceptable. But the result was that they were all crushed. If he had known, he would never have initiated a friendly spar in front of everyone. Patriarch, a disciple said, I am willing to fight. Go, Patriarch Lin said. When the Shangqian sect disciple walked onto the stone platform, it immediately caused a heated discussion among the martial artists. Jiang Shenxi, that's the genius ranked 89th on the Gathering of Heroes list. The last time I participated in the martial exchange, my cultivation was only at the 7th grade. In just a short year, I actually have the aura of a 9th grade martial master. As expected of a saint's spiritual route, the speed of improvement is really fast. Jun Changshao didn't care about the aptitude and cultivation of this upper Qian sect. Instead, he thought to himself, what's the Gathering of Heroes list and the human list? The system said, the falling star continent's most authoritative genius rankings are divided into heaven, earth and man. Heaven is the highest, and man is the lowest. The younger generation who can enter the rankings, even if they are the lowest ranked, are considered the most outstanding geniuses in the continent. I see. Jun Changshao asked. Am I on the list? The system said. Only young disciples and loose cultivators can enter this list. Although the host meets the age requirement to enter the list, because the host is the leader of a sect, he is not included. Fuck. Jun Changshao cursed inwardly. For this kind of otherworldly genius list, if he couldn't enter, it was equivalent to losing a huge point to act tough. He said unwillingly, Is there a sect leader list? Since he couldn't participate in the Gathering of Heroes list, Jun Changshao definitely hoped that there would be a sect leader list, and then win the Best Sect Leader award, and go on stage to give an acceptance speech. The system said, There is no sect leader list in the Falling Star continent, but there is a Gathering of Heroes list that includes many forces. According to their overall strength, they will be evaluated regularly. Is that so? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up and said, Has Iron Bone entered the Gathering of Heroes list? You ask me, but who should I ask? The system only collected a lot of information about the Falling Star continent. As for the forces on the list, it definitely didn't know. However, it habitually poured cold water on him. With Iron Bone's current level and overall strength, it is really wishful thinking for him to enter the Gathering of Heroes list. Jun Changshao was silent for a while, then waved his hand and said, Xingchen, go and fight with this Upper Qian sect disciple. Shua. Yi Xingchen strode forward. After replacing Li Qingyang, he looked at Jiang Shenxi with disdain and said, Rank 89 very trashy. The corners of the mouth of the big shots of the various sects twitched. A martial cultivator, who could enter the Gathering of Heroes list, was extremely talented. This Iron Bone disciple actually said that he was trash. That was really arrogant. If they knew that in his previous life, Yi Xingchen, who had just turned 20, had already been promoted to the top 20 of the Heaven series, they wouldn't think that it was arrogance. There was a minimum age limit for the inclusion of the Gathering of Heroes list, and there was also a maximum age limit. During the period when Night Emperor was on the list, the best ranking was no higher than the 9th of the Heaven series. Although his age exceeded the limit, and he was automatically kicked out of the list, this didn't stop him from becoming the Supreme Martial Emperor of the Falling Star continent. And those geniuses who occupied a higher ranking either fell or reached the limit, hovering around the level of Wu Huang and Wu Sheng. Of course. It was also one of Yi Xingchen's biggest regrets in his previous life, that he didn't reach the age limit to reach the top of the Heaven series. Now that he heard the crowd mention the Gathering of Heroes list, it reminded him. He had regrets in his previous life. He would make up for it in this life. I, Yi Xingchen, will definitely reach the top of the Gathering of Heroes list. Whoosh whoosh. In an instant, a majestic aura of, who else but me in this world emerged from Night Emperor's body. Jiang Shenxi, who was called Trash, felt the anger between his eyebrows at a close distance, and the anger between his eyebrows was immediately replaced by caution. This person was very strong. Yi Xingchen gently raised his head and said with an unruly look, Don't waste time, hurry up and make your move. Shua. Jiang Shenxi immediately released his cultivation of a 9th-grade martial master, and then rushed over with his movement technique. Whoosh spiritual power condensed, and shot out a stream of light like a rainbow piercing the sun. Bang! Yi Xingchen took a step forward and punched out with a powerful iron fist, directly shattering the stream of light. Then, he used the cloud-treading steps, and launched the most explosive normal attack. Martial arts? He had many tricks up his sleeve. It wouldn't be a problem to use 2 or 3 fancy moves. He chose the most straightforward close combat, because he wanted to test the results of his training in the Tower of Trials during this period of time. Very strong, very valiant. When he launched a direct bombardment, Jiang Shenxi could only dodge, and didn't dare to face it head-on. This Iron Bone disciple's strength was too strong. Once he was hit, it would definitely be a crazy bombardment. Myriad Spirit Finger. Jiang Shenxi constantly changed his position and gathered finger lights, attacking from various angles in an attempt to restrain the opponent. Unfortunately, one person's strength could overcome 10 people's techniques. No matter how fancy his moves were, no matter how his streams of light flew around, Yi Xingchen's left and right fists repeatedly destroyed them one by one. That was called valiant. The corners of the elder's mouths twitched slightly. This iron-bone disciple's cultivation was only a 7th-grade martial master. But he was fighting so boldly in front of a 9th-grade martial master. He was truly reckless. Boom! Yi Xingqian once again broke through Jiang Shenxi's spiritual power martial arts in a domineering manner. Taking advantage of his opponent's weakness, his right fist turned into a knife, and he immediately executed several self-chops. Boom! 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 The stone platform exploded, and spiritual power and dust immediately spread out. Chapter 423. On the stone platform, the dust and spiritual energy gradually dissipated. Jiang Shenxi's figure appeared. His hands were clasped together in a defensive posture. His expression was rather ugly. The few self-slashes that Yi Xingqian performed in an instant were not only powerful, but they also happened to take advantage of his weakness. He only managed to block one of them. This kind of vigorous and powerful spiritual energy was quite painful when it hit the body. If Jiang Shenxi was not extremely talented and had specially trained his physical strength, he would have been sent flying by now. No. This guy's body was tough, and his spiritual energy was vigorous. It would be difficult to win against him. If it were Li Qingyang or Xiao Ziji, Jiang Shenxi could rely on his cultivation and spiritual root to win. However, facing an opponent like Yi Xingqian, who had both strength and martial arts experience, there was almost no chance of winning. It was no exaggeration to say that. At this time, even if he was a peak martial master, he would not have an advantage. Yi Xingqian, who was only a 7th-grade martial master after cultivating an iron bone for so long, could definitely be considered an invincible existence in the martial master realm. Unless the opponent had a divine spiritual root and could absolutely suppress him in terms of aptitude. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian did not want to waste time and attacked again. His physical strength had been tested. He did not want to fight in close combat, so he changed to using self-slash as his main attack method. This kind of low consumption and high-power martial arts technique was used to the extreme by Night Emperor. At the beginning, Jiang Shenxi could still rely on his body movement to dodge. Now that he was facing the long-range bombardment of spiritual energy, it was destined to be a tragedy. Swoosh! 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 The crescent-shaped flowing light kept shooting at him from tricky angles. Wherever it passed, faint traces of spiritual energy were left behind. Boom! 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 Jiang Shenxi was tired of dodging, but because there were too many of them, he could only use his hands to protect his vital parts and let the flowing light attack him from all directions. Thump! Thump! His body was heavily bombarded, and he kept retreating. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian appeared in front of Jiang Shenxi and said in a superior manner, "Go down." Whoosh! He used the rupturing fist, and a gust of wind whistled. Boom! Jiang Shenxi didn't have time to dodge at all, and was directly hit in the chest. She staggered back and finally fell off the stone platform and sat on the ground. The mouths of the elders of the various sects twitched violently. Just like that, the genius ranked 89th on the human branch was completely defeated by an iron-bone disciple. Too strong, too terrifying. Who? Jiang Shenxi took a deep breath and cupped his hands with difficulty. Thank you for showing mercy. He knew that his opponent had held back a lot of his strength in that punch. Otherwise, he would have been injured and spat out blood. Yi Xingqian swept his gaze over the disciples of the various sects and said proudly, "Are there any martial cultivators who have not entered the Assembly of Heroes list? If there are, come out and fight with me." These words were very arrogant. Unfortunately, out of so many sect disciples, only Jiang Shenxi had entered the Gathering of Heroes roll. There were 100 heaven, 100 earth, and 100 human geniuses. There were only 300 geniuses on the list. Based on the population of the Starfall continent, the number of people who could enter the Starfall continent was unimaginably small. However, Jiang Shenxi, who had a divine spiritual root, was only ranked 89th on the human branch. This showed that the geniuses on the higher levels were definitely very powerful. Thousands of years ago, in the same era as Yi Xingqian, the genius ranked first on the heaven branch had a divine spiritual root and was a peak martial king before he left the list. At the age of 18, he was qualified to enter the list. At the age of 30, he automatically left the list. In other words, the genius ranked first on the heaven branch had a strength that was infinitely close to Wu Huang's before he reached the age of 30. This was very terrifying. Although Elder Jiang was only 25 or 26, he was only a rank 2 martial king. Even if he increased his rank by 1 every year, he would not be a peak martial king when he reached the age of 30. Nothing. Yi Xingqian walked down from the stone platform in disappointment. Ding. Side mission completed. You have received 1,000 contribution points. Ding. Contribution points. 7461500. Ding. Contribution points overflow. Not counting the missions he completed on the way, he had received 2,500 contribution points in Mount Hua alone. Jun Changshao must be very happy. Everyone. He cupped his hands and said, "Is there anyone else who wants to spar?" The elders of the various sects fell silent. Sparring was based on the situation of equal strength. If one knew that he was going to be abused and still wanted to fight, it was not sparring. It was deliberately making a fool of himself. Therefore, when the Iron Bone disciple defeated the human branch genius Jiang Shenxi, the elders of the various sects would not send their disciples to spar. If there is no one else, Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "I'll take my disciples to enjoy the scenery. Go. With you here we can't show off at all." Sect leader Jun and his disciples appearing on Mount Hua was an unsolvable bug. Everyone. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "Goodbye." Then, he waved his sleeves and left the stone platform with Li Qingyang and the others. Sect leader Jun Xijingxian shouted, "Can you take me to enjoy the scenery?" "Sure," Jun Changshao said straightforwardly. After the people of Iron Bone and Miaohua Palace left, the elders of the various sects shook their heads. This was supposed to be a stage for everyone to show off, but that guy had stolen the limelight. How could they be in the mood to discuss martial arts? Looking at Jun Changxiao's departing figure, the patriarch of the Haiqian sect said with a solemn expression, "Sect leader Jun has a deep understanding of martial arts. Iron Bone's future achievements are immeasurable." That's right. Many elders agreed. If the sect leader was strong, the disciples would be strong. Sooner or later, the sect would become strong. In my opinion, the patriarch of the Haiqian sect said, in less than 300 years, Iron Bone will become a famous sect. With such a strong martial arts attainment, Iron Bone can become a third-rate sect. After the martial arts discussion at the peak of Mount Hua, the elders of the various sects admired Jun Changshao and thought highly of him. He would definitely achieve great things in the future. The prerequisite was that he could not die halfway. The Falling Star continent never lacked talented geniuses, but there were very few who could truly become an overlord. Sect leader Jun Xijingxian sat quietly on a huge rock and said, "I didn't expect you to have such a deep understanding of martial arts." Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "It's useless to have a high level of martial arts. It's more important to have a high level of martial arts." Xijingxian smiled and said, "Sect leader Jun has such a deep understanding of martial arts. It's just a matter of time before you reach a higher level of martial arts." "That's right," Jun Changshao said confidently. "Many people are stronger than me because they started cultivating earlier. As long as I have time, I will definitely surpass them one by one, and even become a martial emperor." "Martial emperor?" Xijingxian was stunned and said, "Sect leader Jun is so ambitious." As the leader of a fourth-rate sect, she had fantasized about what level she could break through in the future. However, she only thought about Wu Huang and Wu Sheng. She never thought about becoming a martial emperor, because to achieve such an achievement, not only did one have to have extremely high martial arts aptitude, but also great luck. Jun Changshao said, "Only with great ambition will there be motivation. Then I will congratulate sect leader Jun first. In the future, you will become a martial emperor revered by thousands." Xijingxian smiled and said, "Thank you." Jun Changshao looked at the sky and said, "It's getting late. I still have to bring the disciples back to the sect. I will take my leave first. Hua Mountain's scenery is so beautiful." Sect leader Jun Why don't you stay for a few more days before leaving? Shi Jingxian said with a slight disappointment. The scenery can be enjoyed at any time. The sex matters must be dealt with as soon as possible. Jun Changxiao said. Yes. The scenery could be enjoyed at any time. But it was hard to say whether it could be like now, with beautiful girls accompanying him. All right, Shi Jingxian said. I hope there will be a chance in the future to discuss martial arts with sect leader Jun. 4 chapters. P.S. When I'm busy, I pretend I didn't see anything. If I don't update, there will be readers who will jump out and show off their existence. I'll fucking slap their faces today. There will be a 5th chapter later. Chapter 424. Jun Changxiao left with his disciples. They left in such a hurry because they wanted to find a quiet place where they could comfortably open the system store and spend all their contribution points. Sigh. Shi Jingxian sighed and said, Lear, let's go back. Although she wanted to chat more with Jun Changxiao, he was busy and didn't give her a chance. Palace Master. On the way, Lear said, Why do you care so much about him? Shi Jingxian said, Lear, do you know? Every time I'm with sect leader Jun, I feel very relaxed as long as I hear him talk. Lear probed. Palace Master, you can't have fallen for him, right? No. Shi Jingxian hurriedly said, her face turning red. Lear was speechless. My Palace Master, the expression on your face has already betrayed you. Shi Jingxian hurriedly explained. I just feel that he is very interesting, that's all. The more you explain, the more you try to hide it. Lear muttered in her heart. Speaking of which, what was so good about that guy? He had only interacted with the Palace Master a few times, and she was already worried about him. He was very handsome, humorous, and occasionally a little naughty. More importantly, his martial arts attainments were also high. Miss Lear, why can't your Palace Master she worry about our sect leader Jun? In a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters. The Hurricane Wolf King led a few hurricane wolves to drink water and rest at a small stream. Whoosh, a faint sound of wind breaking could be heard. In a forest in the distance, a goat eating grass was killed by Xiao Ziji with his 88 sniper rifle. During this period of time, although he neglected to practice his gun, his marksmanship was still very accurate. Shua. Li Qingyang skillfully skinned the meat and began to roast it. Lu Qianqian and Yi Xingchen were still cold and aloof. They couldn't integrate into the beautiful environment at all. Jun Changxiao sat on a tree happily and pulled out the intermediate system store. He definitely had to spend the extra 2,461 contribution points. Otherwise, it would be automatically emptied after 24 hours. Sect leader Jun had only seen the 7 profound Sunglow broken scroll in the 3rd row when he had spent 100 contribution points to refresh the store. Thus, there were still many items that he hadn't seen yet. As he continued reading, Jun Changxiao saw the formula for a type of medium-grade cloud walking boots. According to the introduction, this was a type of boots that could increase one's speed. After wearing it, one's speed would increase by 10% when walking normally, and 20% when using a movement technique. The disadvantage was that it could only be worn by martial masters and above. Otherwise, even if one wore it, there would not be any increase in speed. This thing is good, Jun Changxiao said. High movement speed was also a reflection of one's strength, especially when facing enemies. Not only could it be used to catch them off guard, but it could also be used to dodge attacks with ease. Furthermore, disciples like Su Xiaoma and Li Fei were all speed-type martial cultivators. If they wore the cloud walking shoes, their strength would definitely increase by a lot. Bye. Ding. The host has spent 1,000 contribution points and received the recipe for the middle-grade cloud walking boots X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding. Sect contribution points 6461500. After buying it, the formula was automatically matched and presented in the forging pavilion. Jun Changxiao opened it and found that the main material required was the wind element crystal core, and the supplementary materials were spider silk and beast fur. Ever since his trip to the 10,000 Beast Mountain range, he lacked all kinds of crystal cores, but he did not lack wind element crystal cores. He also had spider silk and fur. So he hurriedly increased the number of refinement to the maximum and began to mechanically refine them. He continued to look at the shopping mall. Very quickly, Jun Changshao saw another secret manual called Mountain Collapsing Earth-Shattering Fist. From the introduction, the power of this fist technique was extremely fierce. If one comprehended it to the extreme, one punch would be able to shatter mountains and split the earth. The quality was high rank. TSK, Jun Changshao muttered. Is this the upgraded version of Exploding Fist? Ding! Host has spent 1,000 contribution points and obtained the Mountain Collapsing Earth-Shattering Fist X1. It has been transferred into the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points. 5461500. After buying it, the system automatically matched it with the Sect's technique. Sect leader Jun did not hesitate and chose the Mountain Collapsing Earth-Shattering Fist. He spent 50 contribution points and copied 5,000 copies. He continued to look. In the end, there were no more decent products. Jun Changshao was not depressed. After all, he had spent 100 contribution points and obtained the formula for the Talisman of Insight, 7 Mysterious Sunglow Break, and the Fist Technique. It was definitely better than the beginner's shop. I have obtained the title of Chivalrous Warrior. My luck has increased from 1 to 5. I can also try my luck and see if I can get better things. Jun Changshao muttered as he tapped on the beginner's shop. He had a lot of contribution points now, but he would not be so impulsive as to test it in the intermediate shop. So he decided to start from the beginner shop. The system complained. Look at the hosts. I'm happy, shut up. Jun Changshao said as he opened the shop. A brand new product appeared. Just looking at the first row, he was extremely excited. Gun. Another gun. Moreover, it was a modified AK-47 automatic rifle. Ahaha. Jun Changshao laughed heartily. Although the AK-47 single-point power was not comparable to the Type 88 sniper rifle, it had the advantage of having more bullets and being able to shoot continuously, especially at close range. If the Type 88 couldn't break the opponent's defense in one shot, the AK-47's continuous damage would definitely be stronger. If they were to equip each of their disciples with an AK-47, even a martial king might not be able to withstand it. Moreover, it was not expensive. It was only 100 contribution points. The use of the word only was enough to show that Sect leader Jun didn't care about 100 contribution points at all. He didn't know that when he first got the system, he had to spend 10 points to copy secret manuals. It was a pity. There was a limit to the purchase of the modified AK-47. He could only buy 5 of them per month. Ding! Host has spent 500 contribution points. You have obtained a modified AK-47 automatic rifle X5. It has been transferred into the interspatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points. 4911500. Jun Changshao let out a sigh of relief when his contribution points fell to a safe level. He then spent another 100 points from the items he had purchased and bought 5 universal extended magazines. He took out the AK-47. After changing the magazine, he took out the 5th grade core and loaded the bullets. Xiao. After a while all 40 bullets were loaded. 40 streams of light appeared on both sides of the magazine. I've sinned. Jun Changshao shouted. Come and test the gun. Okay. Xiao Ziji ate the skewers and walked over while clapping his hands. When he saw the AK-47 he said in surprise, Sect leader, isn't this gun a bit small? Don't look at its small size. Its power is not weak. Jun Changshao said. Oh. Xiao Ziji took it. Because he suffered from the AWM sniper rifle last time, he learned his lesson this time. Before shooting, he lay down on the grass. Jun Changshao said, just stand and shoot. Oh. Xiao Ziji stood up and started to shoot. He chose a stone wall 100 meters in front of him and pressed the trigger. 2. The muzzle of the AK-47 continuously spat out bullets. Xiao Ziji's expression changed. Because the shooting speed was too fast and the recoil was too strong, the muzzle was aimed directly at the sky. After firing more than 10 bullets, he released his finger and sat down on the ground. he said with a face of despair. Sect leader, one shot fired so many bullets. Whether it was the Type 88 or the AWM, they were all used for single-point shooting. This was the first time he had experienced such a fully automatic shooting mode. As for the stone wall in front of him, only one bullet hit the predetermined position. The other bullets extended upwards in an irregular pattern. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "With your gun control skills, you'll never be able to eat chicken in your lifetime." Asking for monthly tickets. Chapter 425. Xiao Ziji's body was very strong, but he still could not withstand the recoil of the AK-47, so all the bullets hit the surroundings. He was definitely a master of body tracing. Jun Changshao took the gun and aimed at the stone wall in front of him, saying, "The gun should be fired like this." 222. He pressed 3 times in a row. Although there was still recoil, it was very stable. Although he did not have the opportunity to use an AK-47 in real life, he had played many games. He naturally knew that the first 3 shots were the easiest to suppress, and the later shots would be harder to suppress. Of course, this was a medium to long-range burst shot. If the target was very close, he could just fire randomly. Sigh. Jun Changshao fired a few more shots, and the gun was very stable. He murmured, "If it was a fully equipped M4 with a 15x scope, I could do it too." Sect Master. Xiao Ziji rested for a while saying, "Let me try." Jun Changshao took out another AK-47 from the space ring and threw it over, saying, "This gun is yours from now on." Xiao Ziji loaded the bullets and pulled the trigger according to the Sect Master's demonstration. As expected, he easily suppressed the gun, and the bullets accurately hit the point he had locked on. Jun Changshao said, "Get used to the rhythm of shooting. You'll soon master it, and it won't be a problem to finish a magazine of bullets." Okay. Xiao Ziji did not even eat the skewers, and began to frequently practice shooting in the wild. Needless to say, after a few rounds, he perfectly mastered the recoil of the AK-47, and it was not a problem to shoot 40 bullets in 10 seconds. But 40 bullets might not all hit the same point, and there was still a slight fluctuation. Otherwise, there would definitely be no recoil. Xiao Zuiji tried another round of bullets and laughed. "Sect Master, although the power of this gun can't compare to the Type 88 and AWM, the bullets it shoots are extremely fast. It can completely suppress the enemy with firepower." Jun Changshao said, "That's because there is no Gatling gun. Otherwise, you would know what true suppression is." "Qingyang," he shouted, "you also come and try." Okay. Li Qingyang put down the skewers and took the AK-47. He imitated Xiao Zuiji's actions and pulled the trigger. Although he didn't hit his target, he still managed to pull off a decent shot. When they had nothing to do in the sect, he and Su Xiaoma had played with the Type 88 sniper rifle. Although they weren't very accurate, at least they had some experience. Jun Changshao said, "This gun will be yours from now on. Take your time to practice and try to master it as soon as possible." Yes. Upon receiving the order, Li Qingyang began to carefully ask junior brother Xiao questions about shooting, as if he was a humble student who was willing to be taught. Arriving in front of the boulder where Lu Qianqian was, Jun Changshao took out the AK-47 and asked, "Do you want it?" An ice-cold beauty dressed in white like a fairy, sweeping wildly with an AK-47. Just the thought of this scene made him a little excited. It was a pity. Lu Qianqian said, "Sect Master, I prefer to use the sword to solve all problems." Although she refused, her tone wasn't as cold as before. Instead, it was mixed with a trace of human kindness. Lu Qianqian had always been changing, but because she was usually quiet, it was hard to see. Of course, to completely melt an iceberg, not only was it difficult, but it also had to be hot enough. Xingqian. Jun Changshao looked at Yi Xingqian, who was standing proudly in the distance, and asked, "Do you want it?" "Sect Master," Yi Xingqian said, "I prefer to use my fists to solve all problems." Damn, this guy is really pretentious. Fortunately, Su Xiaoma and Li Fei weren't here. Otherwise, the two of them would have taken the initiative to ask for it. They even didn't hesitate to wrestle with each other, until their heads bled. Yi Xingqian also knew that this strange gun's power was extraordinary, but he preferred to use his fists or normal weapons to defeat the enemy. Jun Changshao said, "I have a fist technique here, do you want it?" "No." Yi Xingqian was startled and hurriedly changed his words. "Yes." Knight Emperor. Where was his arrogance? Where was his demeanor? Jun Changshao threw the landslide fist to him, and also gave it to Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji. Only Lu Qianqian and Zhou Hong were not given, because this kind of fierce palm technique was definitely not suitable for girls to cultivate. Zhou Hong was a sword cultivator, so he naturally wouldn't cultivate fist techniques. To be honest, as the eldest disciple of Iron Bone, the martial arts resources that Lu Qianqian had obtained were only ice attribute martial arts and an ice attribute bracelet. The martial arts that had recently spawned, Qishuan Sunglow Break, could be cultivated, while Raging Flame Cut was only suitable for male martial cultivators. Jun Changshao felt a little apologetic. Although Lu Qianqian was cold, but after more than a year of contact, he could see that it was nothing more than a cold heart. What's more, transmigrating to the Falling Star continent, when she was most helpless and miserable, she was the first to join the sect. Many readers only saw Lu Qianqian's coldness, but did not see it. If it weren't for her appearance, how could Master Jun get 1 contribution point, open them all, buy a big gift pack, and have the capital to establish a foothold? If not her, there were others? This was just an assumption. In fact, Lu Qianqian was the first to join. This was unchangeable and undeniable. If she didn't join, there would be others. But at that time, the recruitment of numerous sects had already ended, and he would not have met the injured Li Qingyang, nor would he have recruited so many disciples to obtain the first bucket of gold in his life. Jun Changshao often thought that if Lu Qianqian did not appear in time, it would definitely be difficult for him to develop Iron Bone to this extent. Therefore, whether this woman's character was cold or her words were sharp, it did not affect her position in his heart. "My first disciple. I am biased, is there a problem?" "Qianqian." Jun Changshao sat on the boulder and said, "I have a middle-grade cold sword here, which happens to be ice attribute, suitable for you to use." "Of course," he said in a domineering tone. "You must obey my orders." Lu Qianqian, who wanted to refuse, had to take the cold sword. Coincidentally, Jun Changshao inadvertently saw the ice bracelet on her wrist, and casually said, "You still have the bracelet?" Lu Qianqian's bright eyes were strange, and she hurriedly covered the bracelet with her sleeve, jumped off the boulder lightly, and walked to the front where there was no one, as if deliberately keeping a certain distance from the sect master. When will she be able to open up her heart that is wrapped in ice? Jun Changshao shook his head, took out the mountain-collapsing earth-splitting fist, and began to carefully comprehend it. Ding! A prompt came from the casting pavilion, and the cloud walking boots was refined. While Jun Changshao and Lu Qianqian were interacting, Yi Xingqian had already roughly flipped through the fist technique, and secretly exclaimed, "This fist technique to the extreme. I'm afraid it's not weaker than a low-level saint martial art." As expected, the sect master was getting better and better. The mountain-collapsing earth-splitting fist inherited the usual advantages of the system store, which was easy to learn, but difficult to master. With Yi Xingqian's aptitude, he had a preliminary grasp of it after a while. Just as he was about to test its power, he inadvertently looked at the sect master, and his expression suddenly became sluggish. What did he see? He saw Jun Changshao squatting on the boulder, then lifting his feet and taking off his boots. Taking off his boots and socks in public. As a sect master, what kind of quality was this? Chapter 426. Although they were in the wilderness, Jun Changzhao's action of taking off his boots was a bit uncivilized. If it was Yi Xingqian, he would definitely not do it, because this was a matter of quality and principle. Jun Changshao did not think much of it. He took off one and then the other, acting very casually. He even raised his foot and sniffed it. "Well, it's not smelly." Jie, Knight Emperor, was directly petrified. As the leader of a sect, he actually did such an extremely indecent thing. Thinking of how he had just received the secret manual from him, Yi Xingqian, who was a little obsessed with cleanliness, almost ran to the stream to wash his hands. Shua! Jun Changshao waved his hand and took out the newly refined cloud walking boots. Because the supplementary material was fur, it was a leather shoe. The color was pale white, and it looked a little big. However, after putting on the cloud walking boots, it miraculously shrank and matched his feet. Not only was it suitable, but it was also quite comfortable. Only then did Yi Xingqian realize that the sect leader was going to change his boots. However, he raised his foot and sniffed it. Ta-ta. After putting on the cloud walking boots, Jun Changshao stood on tiptoe and said, I feel a little lighter than before. Shua. While speaking, he took out his long legs that could only be cultivated in Photoshop and started running. His speed was obviously faster than before. However, it was only a 10% increase in speed. If he didn't run for a long time, it would be difficult to feel it directly. Yi Xingqian had been paying attention to Jun Changshao. He could clearly see that the moment his feet touched the ground, the new boots would flicker with a faint light. He secretly guessed, could it be a kind of treasure that can increase one's speed? Strictly speaking, the mid-grade cloud walking boots could not be considered a treasure and could only be classified as equipment. After testing normal running, Jun Changshao used the cloud walking steps and increased his speed by 20%. There was an obvious change immediately. The cloud walking boots' flashing light was also brighter than before. It could be seen. When the speed increased, the light would increase. What was even more amazing was that it also had the ability to increase jumping. Jun Changshao jumped up, increasing from 200 feet to 24 feet. Ta! After landing steadily, he clapped his hands and said with a smile, not only is it comfortable to wear, but it can also increase my speed. It's the best of both worlds. Increase speed? As expected, he had guessed correctly. This new pair of boots was a treasure that could increase one's speed. Knight Emperor had not only seen defensive and attack-type true treasures in his previous life, but he had also owned many of them. However, speed-type true treasures were extremely rare. The sect leader was really something. No. He had to perform even better and strive to obtain such a supreme treasure. Yi Xingqian knew better than anyone the importance of martial techniques, equipment, and treasures to a martial cultivator. After testing the cloud-walking boots, Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend the earth-shattering fist. The smithing pavilion was still mechanically refining. 2 hours later, a few more pairs were refined. Boom! At this moment a loud explosion came from afar. Jun Changshao looked up and saw that Yi Xingqian had punched the mountain wall, where Xiao Ziji had tested his spear. Dense cracks immediately appeared on the wall. Li Qingyang walked over and said in surprise, Junior brother Yi, you've already comprehended the earth-shattering fist? Yes, Yi Xingqian said. He had only just begun to comprehend it, and was still far from minor accomplishment. However, the punch he performed just now had at least 30,000 points of strength. Yi Xingqian's comprehension of the rupturing fist was already at the peak. When he performed it, the increase in strength was at most 20,000 points. Now that he had only comprehended the earth-shattering fist, he had already gained so much strength. It was indeed a supreme-grade fist technique. Tisk tisk. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, This disciple of mine is really fast in cultivating system martial techniques. Come. He waved his hand and said, I have something to tell you. Li Qingyang and the others walked over. Jun Changshao waved his hand and took out a few pairs of cloud walking boots that he had just refined. He said, At the peak of Mount Hua, you showed off the power of my iron bone. These are your rewards. Yi Xingqian was overjoyed. Just now he wanted to obtain such a treasure through his performance. He didn't expect the sect leader to give it to him. Thank you, sect leader. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji took it. Jun Changshao said, These cloud walking boots can increase your speed. You can try it. Is that so? Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji's eyes lit up. Then, they sat on the stone and began to change their boots. Lu Qianqian also received it. However, she was a girl after all. She definitely wouldn't take off her boots in public. As for our misophobic Lord Knight Tharch, he held the light cloud walking shoes, and his expression became extremely interesting. Should he change it now? Or should he change it after returning to the sect? Sect leader. Xiao Ziji was the first to change. Then he jumped and said happily, "After wearing the cloud-walking boots, my body feels much lighter." "I have the same feeling." Li Qingyang also changed into his clothes. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "When running normally, your speed will increase by 10%. When using the movement technique, it will increase by 20%. So powerful?" Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji immediately widened their eyes. If running normally for 100 feet, it would be 10 feet more than usual. If running normally for 100 feet, it would be 20 feet more than usual. This was definitely very powerful. Whoosh, whoosh. On the spacious grassland, Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji began to test it. They sometimes ran, and sometimes used the movement technique. When they finally stopped, they said happily in unison, "These cloud-walking boots are amazing." Next to them, Yi Xingchen lowered his head and clenched his fists. At this moment he was suffering a huge mental torture. His mind was filled with thoughts of whether he should take off his boots and try the cloud-walking boots. No. In his previous life, he was a martial emperor. How could he behave like a commoner and do such a thing in front of such a large crowd? Wait, that was in his previous life. He was not a martial emperor now. Since that was the case, why should he be bothered by such trifles? Change. Yi Xingchen sat on a rock and quickly took off his boots. He changed into the cloud-walking boots and ran impatiently. "Knight Emperor, where are your qualities? Where are your principles?" Whoosh, whoosh. After a series of tests, Yi Xingchen stopped and said firmly in his heart, "How could a pair of boots that can increase speed be made in the Falling Star continent? It must be from the upper realm." Our Knight Emperor had gone deeper and deeper into the path of Jun Changshao came from the upper realm, and could not extricate himself from it. It was understandable. After all, there were too many rare and strange martial arts resources. "Let's go." Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. On the way, he did not forget to comprehend the earth-shattering fist. However, he unknowingly entered a dark forest. Whoosh, whoosh. A cold wind blew, making one's hair stand on end. Jun Changshao looked around and murmured, "Why didn't I see them on the way here?" The system was speechless. On the way here, the host was looking for bandits everywhere and did not follow the normal route. Naturally, he avoided them perfectly. "Sect leader," Li Qingyang said solemnly, "I'm afraid there are powerful beasts here." Whoosh! The Hurricane Wolf King let out a low growl, as if to tell its master that the forest was not ordinary and should not be casually entered. After careful consideration, Jun Chang smiled and said, "Let's go in and take a look. Let's see what treasures we can find." Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as they were about to enter, they saw a martial cultivator suddenly jump out from the depths of the dark forest. There were many wounds on his body, and blood was gushing out. Plop! After running for a while, he fell 10 meters away from the group and said weakly, Everyone, please save me." Before he could finish, Jun Changshao rode on the Hurricane Wolf King and led the disciples around him, as if they did not see him at all. The muscles on the wounded martial cultivator's face froze, and then he collapsed on the ground and said sadly, "Public morals are degenerating day by day." Chapter 427. When a seriously injured martial cultivator ran out of the dark forest and called for help weakly, those who were sympathetic would help. However, Jun Changshao and his disciples turned a blind eye to it. Was this the distortion of human nature, or the loss of morality, that made them so cold-blooded and heartless? "Sect Master," Li Qingyang said telepathically, "are we really not going to save him?" Jun Changshao said, "His body is full of wounds from weapons. It's obvious that someone is chasing him. If we save him, it might cause unnecessary trouble." Li Qingyang chose to remain silent. The system said, "You have the title of a chivalrous person now. If you don't save him, it will be ironic." Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, "A chivalrous person can't save people from fire and water every day. Besides, although his injuries are serious, they are not fatal." Everyone. After a few steps, The wounded martial cultivator lying on the ground said with difficulty, Save my life. I'm willing to give you 100 spirit stones. I've sinned. Jun Changxiao said. Hurry up and lift him up. The ground is cold. Li Qingyang and Zhou Hong's mouths twitched. The sect master immediately became warm-hearted at the mention of spirit stones. Wasn't he being too realistic? In the cruel falling star continent, it was natural to be more realistic with people who were neither relatives nor friends. When he had just transmigrated, Jun Changxiao had saved Li Qingyang. Now that he could be more open-minded in the face of someone in trouble, it was the best proof of his change in mentality. Whoosh! Xiao Ziji jumped down from the hurricane wolf and was about to carry the wounded martial cultivator when dozens of black-clothed people suddenly flew out of the dark forest. These people surrounded Jun Changxiao and the others at the fastest speed. Their eyes were cold and fierce. Seeing this, the wounded martial cultivator's heart was filled with despair. The leader of the black-clothed people glanced at Jun Changxiao and the others and said indifferently, You are this guy's accomplices? Jun Changxiao said, We are just passing by. Passing by? The black-clothed leader smiled coldly, then waved his hand and said, Then die in the black demon forest. Whoosh! 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 The surrounding subordinates waved their hands wildly, and one after another, concealed weapons that flickered with cold light shot over. Clang! Clang! Li Qingyang and Yi Xingchen brandished their swords. Immediately, they brandished their swords and destroyed all the hidden weapons that were coming at them. Xiao Ziji summoned his solid iron shield, not only to protect himself, but also to protect the injured martial cultivator. The leader in black was surprised and said, You have some ability, big brother. The martial artist at the side said in a low voice, The wolves that these people are riding seem to be Gale wolves. What? The black-clothed leader was shocked. The Gale wolf was not an ordinary beast. Since they were using it as a mount, their identities were definitely not simple. Since you're just passing by, the black-robed leader reacted quickly and said, Then leave quickly. Don't get in the way of my demon channeling hall's mission here. The strength of this group of wolf-riding martial cultivators was a bit strong. He didn't dare to provoke them too much, so his tone became gentler. The reason why he had mentioned the demon channeling hall was to let the other party know of his identity and which sect he came from. Unfortunately, since you've already attacked, it would be strange if this matter was over. Jun Changxiao crossed his arms and said with a smile, You greeted us with hidden weapons the moment we met, and now you want us to leave? Was your brain kicked by a donkey? The black-clothed leader's face darkened, but he suppressed his anger and said with cupped fists, It was just a misunderstanding. Please don't take it to heart for the sake of the demon channeling hall. If it weren't for the fact that you were riding Gale wolves, I would have killed you with my sword. Wrong. It was not Gale wolves, but hurricane wolves. There was even a hurricane wolf king among them. Jiangye said telepathically. Sect leader. The demon channeling hall is a fifth-rate evil sect. Fifth-rate? Jun Changxiao's eyes immediately flashed with disdain. I've provoked 2 third-rate evil sections. Why would I care about a fifth-rate evil sect? Of course, he didn't want to provoke an evil sect when he was outside. Instead, he pointed outside and said, Since you're from the demon channeling hall, I'll give you face and scram as fast as you can. The black-clothed leader's anger immediately rose, but he still suppressed it. He looked at the injured martial cultivator and said, He's someone the demon channeling hall is after. We're taking him away. Please do us a favor. Jun Changxiao said, Give him 100 spirit stones and take him away. The injured martial cultivator was stunned. He screamed in his heart, Public morals are degenerating day by day. People are not what they used to be. The black-clothed leader finally couldn't take it anymore. He said in a gloomy voice, Friend, you're being a little unreasonable. The corner of Jiangye's mouth twitched slightly. How could a person from an evil sect say that he was reasonable? That was the biggest joke in the world. Jun Changxiao shrugged and said, He's willing to pay me 100 spirit stones to keep him safe. If you take him away, my spirit stones will be gone. So you have to give me 100 spirit stones. The corner of Li Qingyang and the others' mouths twitched. Sect leader wants 100 spirit stones no matter what. The black-clothed leader's expression changed again. I don't have 100 spirit stones. Even if I did, how could I bear to give them to you? How about this? He said. After I take him down, I'll give you the spirit stones I find. Since the target had 100 spirit stones, he could take them out and give them to him. He could go back and complete the mission as soon as possible. Both sides would be fine. That won't do, Jun Changshao said. If you capture him and run away, won't I lose both the spirit stones and the spirit stones? So you have to give me 100 spirit stones first, and let me give up on protecting him. The black-clothed leader's expression darkened. He thought to himself, is this guy messing with me? Or is he deliberately stalling for time? Young friend. At that moment, the injured martial cultivator said with difficulty, I'm willing to pay 1,000 spirit stones. Please save my life. He could tell that the people from the enchanted palace did not dare to do anything to this wolf-riding martial cultivator. In order to survive, they were willing to pay more. I'll take this deal, Jun Changshao said. Although his family had a spirit stone mine that could produce natural spirit stones, he would not mind man-made spirit stones. After all, one spirit stone was worth 10,000 taels. Phew, the injured martial cultivator breathed a sigh of relief. The despair in his heart gradually dissipated. Jun Changshao looked at the black-clothed leader and shrugged. If you want me to give up on protecting him now, it's not 100 spirit stones. It's 1,000 spirit stones. Puffed. The injured martial cultivator spat out a mouthful of blood. He cursed in his heart. Does this guy have any professional ethics? The black-clothed leader could not even take out 100 spirit stones, let alone 1,000. So he said with a dark gaze, Kid, you're playing with me on purpose. Can't take it out? Jun Changshao said. Then get out of here. Humph. The black-clothed leader said coldly. Since you refuse a toast, don't blame me for being rude. Swoosh. As he spoke, he made a strange hand gesture. Swoosh. 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 The dozens of black-clothed men around him took out a crossbow-like weapon from their spatial rings and equipped it with arrows. The arrowhead flickered with a faint light, as if it carried explosive power. Jiangye said telepathically, Master, this is a magic explosive crossbow. The arrowhead is blessed with a crystal core. It will explode when touched by a foreign object. It's extremely lethal. Kid, the black-clothed leader said, I've been patient again and again. Since you don't leave, then you'll end up with a broken body. Jun Changshao sneered and shouted, Qingyang Zueji, show me your weapons. Swoosh. Swoosh. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji summoned their AK-47s and held them up. Crack. Jun Changshao also took out his AK-47. This guy also put on a pair of dazzling sunglasses. With a cigar in his mouth, he said proudly, I want to see if your arrows are faster than my bullets. Looking down from above, a group of black-clothed men holding the most advanced crossbows were facing 3 people riding hurricane wolves and holding AK-47s. The atmosphere. It was tense. Chapter 428. When Jun Changshao and the other 2 picked up the AK-47, the leader and his men were all dumbfounded. What are they holding in their hands? Crossbows? Her appearance was too strange. Wasn't it too unsightly? Or are they just simple wooden sticks? Or are they some kind of special short-range weapon? Kid. The leader sneered. Who are you trying to scare with a stick? The grip and stock of the AK-47 were made of reddish-brown wood. It did look like a stick. Jun Changshao said indifferently, I'll give you and your men one more chance. Get out of here, or you'll become a hornet's nest later. Hee hee. The leader laughed strangely. It seems that you don't know that my men are using demon explosive crossbows. The arrows they shoot are at least 50,000 kilograms. Ordinary peak-level martial masters could only shoot 50,000 kilograms. It was indeed very powerful for one arrow to be able to release such a powerful force. More importantly, there were 40 to 50 men in black who were equipped with such crossbows. The lethality of their arrows couldn't be underestimated. Of course, Demon explosive crossbows were very expensive, and the cost of demon explosive arrows was even higher. Shooting an arrow was equivalent to shooting a spirit stone. Martial cultivators in the Falling Star continent usually wouldn't use such equipment because they couldn't afford it. Many legions were equipped with such equipment to attack cities. 50,000 kilograms? Jun Changshao said indifferently, how lame. The guns sold in the system were all determined by the level of the crystal core. Not to mention 50,000 kilograms, even 100,000 kilograms could be produced. Moreover, a high-level crystal core could store 2 rounds of AK-47 bullets. It was a great deal. Even now, if the two sides didn't attack each other but shot at the air, Sect leader Jun could exhaust them and make them bankrupt. Come on, let's hurt each other. He had already told them the power of the demon explosive arrows, but these wolf-riding martial cultivators still didn't leave and were still confronting each other. This made the leader in black angry. Did they really think that he didn't dare to give the order to shoot because he was worried about the demon explosive arrows? Swish! The leader in black raised his hand, his eyes flashing with killing intent. The mission given by the higher-ups must be completed no matter the price. Swish! Shwa! More than 40 subordinates raised their magic explosive crossbows, ready to fire as soon as their boss's hand fell. Brat! The leader in black said coldly, go to hell. He lowered his hand and gave the order to shoot. Many of his subordinates began to exert force on their triggers. Kill them all. At this moment, Jun Changshao gave the order. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. The 3 AK-47s immediately spewed out flames as tiny bullets shot out from 3 different directions, shaking the space and dragging streams of light behind them. When the image was slowed down, it looked like a scene from the Hacker Empire. Boom, boom, boom. The extremely fast firing speed and strong penetrating power ruthlessly swept across the body of the black-clothed martial cultivator, who was just about to pull the trigger. Some of them passed through his head, while others passed through his chest. He was hit 3 or 4 times in an instant. In the meantime, the Demon Channeling Hall's martial cultivators had also successfully fired their devil explosive arrows. However, as soon as it flew out of the crossbow, it was hit by the bullets and instantly exploded, causing the surrounding magic explosive arrows to explode. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Boom 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 in the wilderness. The sound of gunshots and explosions was endless. The fog and dust from the bullets also filled the area. The injured martial cultivator lying on the ground was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. Although the fog and dust blocked his vision, and he could not see what was going on inside, the 3 martial cultivators riding on the wolf beasts were not injured by the devil explosive arrows, and were still safe and sound. They were riding on a strange object that kept spitting out flames at the end. It looked very powerful. Ka, ka, ka. Jun Changshao first emptied a magazine of bullets, took out the crystal cores, and reloaded the magazine as fast as he could. Whoosh! Once again, he raised his AK-47 and fired wildly at the foggy area. His cold movements and expressionless mouth were very similar to the Terminator played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. At this time, if Sect leader Jun was accompanied by a very hot background music, it would definitely be exciting. Jiang Ye's mouth twitched. This kind of gun is like a hidden weapon. It's so powerful. Ka ka ka. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji also emptied a magazine of bullets. The Sect leader did not ask them to stop. He continued to reload and fired with his gun. After emptying another magazine of bullets, Jun Changshao raised his gun, held the electronic cigar, and blew out a smoke ring. That's enough. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji put away their guns. Although the two of them had mastered the shooting frequency of the AK-47, their hands could not help but tremble slightly when they stopped shooting. However, fighting a real person was much better than practicing with a gun. Gradually, the dust and fog dissipated. Everything around them could be seen clearly. More than 40 evil cultivators from the Demon Channeling Palace, who surrounded Jun Changshao in a fan shape, were lying on the ground. Some of them were shot to death, while others were killed by the devil explosive arrows. Not a single one was left alive. Fresh blood flowed and gathered together. A cold wind blew over, and there was a nauseating smell of blood. Plop! The leader in black went limp and sat in a pool of blood. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with shock. Perhaps it was on purpose. All his subordinates were dead, but he was alive and well. However, he might as well be dead, because of the extremely fast and powerful bullets that flew past him. The leader in black felt as if he was in the 18th level of hell. His cultivation was only at the peak of the martial master level. If he was hit by the AK-47, he would definitely die. Thud! Thud! The Gale Wolf King walked over. Jun Changshao raised the AK-47 with one hand and pressed the muzzle against the leader's head. He said calmly, "Do you still think this is a fire rod?" The continuous firing from the muzzle produced a lot of heat. The leader in black looked even more ferocious. However, he did not dare to move, because he had seen the power of the AK-47. Friend. The leader in black suppressed his fear and said in a low voice, Let's talk. Go to hell and talk to the king of hell." Jun Changshao pulled the trigger with a cold voice. The bullet went through with a bang, and blood and sticky things splashed on the grass. Plop! The leader in black fell to the ground. The vitality in his eyes gradually dissipated, and the muscles on his face were still fixed in a ferocious state. As soon as they met, he ordered his subordinates to throw hidden weapons without any explanation. This had angered Jun Changshao. "If my disciple and I were weak, we would have been killed by you guys just because we were passing by." This grievance would probably be complained to the king of hell right now. Even if the leader in black took out 100 or 1,000 spirit stones, the result would still be death. Swish! Swish! Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji jumped down from the Gale Wolf and began to skillfully loot the crates. Jun Changshao walked to the injured martial artist and pressed the muzzle of the AK-47 against the grass. He said expressionlessly, "The people who were chasing you have all been killed. You are safe now. Give me the 1,000 spirit stones." "Little friend." The corner of the martial artist's mouth twitched. He said weakly, I don't have it." "You don't have it?" Jun Changshao frowned. The martial artist was silent. Swish! Jun Changshao stood up and reloaded the gun. He pulled the safety pin and pointed the muzzle at the martial artist's head. He said coldly, "Are you playing with me? Motherfucker. For 1,000 spirit stones, I have offended a fifth-rate evil sect. And you tell me you don't have it? Is it because I have the title of a hero that you are so fearless?" The martial artist naturally knew the power of the fire rod. He hurriedly said, "I have it. I have one. You are playing with me." Bang. Chapter 429. Jun Changshao decisively opened fire, but the muzzle of the gun moved from the head of the wounded cultivator to his crotch. The bullet directly hit the grass between his legs, leaving a fingernail-sized hole. "Friend," he said with a gloomy face, "I have a bad temper, don't play with me." While speaking, he raised the AK-47. The muzzle was not placed on the head, but on the crotch of the wounded cultivator. It was exactly right. Gulp! The wounded cultivator swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Not only did a chill run down his spine, even his crotch was cold. He said with a trembling voice, Friend, my spirit stone is natural. One stone is equal to several stones." "Natural?" Jun Changshao was quite surprised. "Take it out and let me see." In order to carry on his family line, the wounded cultivator hurriedly took out the spirit stone from his space ring. Jun Changshao took it and used his mind to communicate with the spirit stone. He saw that the spiritual energy gathered inside was very pure. Not bad. It was a natural spirit stone. Jun Changshao looked at him suspiciously. "Only one," the wounded cultivator said with a bitter face. Friend, do you think I still dare to lie?" Poochie. Suddenly, a dagger was inserted into his thigh. He was startled. When he felt the pain, he screamed, "Ah!" Swish! Jun Changshao pulled the dagger back. Hiss! Blood spurted out like a fountain. The wounded cultivator's face became more and more ferocious. He was already wounded, and now it was one disaster after another. Jun Changshao wiped the bloodstained dagger on his clothes. "I think you are not honest. In order to suffer less physical pain, you better hand over the remaining 999 spirit stones." His face was expressionless like a devil from hell. It was hard to imagine that this was the Ironbone sect leader, who was occasionally a little naughty when interacting with his disciples. I really don't have any more. Poochie. Jun Changshao did not say anything and stabbed his other thigh. The wounded cultivator screamed in pain again. Shua. Jun Changshao pulled out the dagger, raised his arm and pressed it against the man's neck. Since you don't have it, then use your life to pay for my reward. The blade made contact with the skin and caved in. Even if it was only a few millimeters in, a thin red mark appeared, and blood slowly seeped out. The wounded Wuxia's heart suddenly began to beat wildly. A strong omen of death surged into his sea of consciousness, making him not dare to lie anymore. He said, I still have. Jun Changshao withdrew his dagger and said, take it out. Huff, huff. The wounded cultivator gasped for air. After a while he gritted his teeth and said, I found a spirit stone mine in the depths of the forest. There are a lot of spirit stones in there. I can take you there. Really? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. When Zhang Xian took out a natural spirit stone, he was already suspicious of Zhang Xian. As expected, after Zhang Xian threatened him, he really confessed. If I'm not wrong, Jun Changshao said, the people from Demon Channeling Palace are chasing you, because they want to know the location of the spirit stone mine? The wounded Wuxia endured the pain and said, that's right. Qingyang. Jun Changshao stood up and said, treat this guy's wounds, don't let him die. Yes. Li Qingyang quickly walked over, took out some medicine and bandages from his spatial ring, and began to bandage the wound. Taking advantage of this time, Jun Changshao burned the piled-up corpses with exquisite fire. After all, it was a fifth-rate evil sect. If they found out that he was the one who killed them, it would definitely bring about trouble. Therefore, it was important to destroy the corpses. The gloomy forest that Jun Changshao and the others arrived at was the Black Devil Forest. To be exact, the Black Devil Forest was only a part of the Black Devil Mountain Range. The Black Devil Mountain Range was a large mountain range that ran through many counties. The 10,000 Beast Mountain Range of Huayang County was not even a tenth of it. Although there were many vicious beasts in the Black Devil Mountain Range, other than a small area, it was not too dangerous. This small area included the Black Devil Forest that Jun Changshao was currently in. It was said that vicious beasts comparable to Wuzong level could be seen everywhere in the depths. Moreover, the terrain was very complicated. Even a martial king could easily get lost in it. The wounded Wuxia was called Rinshan, a rank 6 martial master rogue cultivator. He and a few companions entered the Black Devil Forest and found a cave. Then, they boldly went in and found an unmined spirit stone mine. This excited them to no end. However, when they were about to collect spirit stones for the second time, they were somehow locked onto by the people from Demon Channeling Palace. In a hurry, he and his companions headed into the depths of the unknown area. In the end, they miserably encountered vicious beasts comparable to Wuzong. In the end, Renshan escaped, and his 3 companions became food. Those who survived a great disaster were bound to have good fortune. Just as he escaped danger, he encountered people from Demon Channeling Palace, and was seriously injured. Thus, he met Jun Changshao outside the forest. After learning about what happened, Jiangya shook his head and said, you're really unlucky. Rinshan sat behind Xiao Ziji, his entire body wrapped in bandages. With a bitter expression he said, I finally know what it means to be innocent but guilty of possessing a treasure. If he hadn't accidentally discovered the spirit stone mine and dug out the spirit stones inside, he and his companions wouldn't have been in danger, and he wouldn't have been left alone. Don't sigh. Jun Changshao said, hurry up and lead the way. He wasn't interested in listening to the tragic story. He only cared about the spirit stone mine in the depths of the forest. However, Jun Changshao also had doubts in his heart. The appearance of the spirit stone mine meant that there was a recovery of spiritual energy. Why didn't others discover it? Why did a few rogue cultivators accidentally find it? When he entered the Black Devil Forest and saw the dense miasma around him, he realized that it wasn't that no one had discovered it, but that this naturally formed environment was enough to cover up the natural phenomenon. Little friend. After entering, Ren Shan said warily, the depths are filled with ferocious beasts of the 8th or 9th grade. There are also many high-grade ones. We must proceed carefully. Don't worry, Jun Changshao said. With us here, even if it's a spirit beast, it's enough to deal with it. The reason why he was so confident was because Jiang Ye was with him. Thinking of this group of people who had used strange hidden weapons to kill all the evil cultivators of the demon channeling palace, Jiang Shan gradually relaxed his vigilance and began to search for the way to the spirit stone mine according to his memory. Roar boom! In the depths of the Black Devil Forest, a ferocious beast comparable to a 6th grade martial master had just jumped out from the dark when it was killed by Xiao Ziji with a single punch. Then he took the opportunity to take away its crystal core and flesh. Ren Shan was secretly shocked. So these people not only rely on special hidden weapons, but they are also very strong. He became even bolder. As long as he confirmed the location, he would not hesitate to go. 2 hours later, Ren Shan led Jun Changshao and the others to a collapsed area of the mountain. There was a cave in a relatively low-lying area. Sect leader, Jiang Ye said telepathically, the miasma in this area is very dense. My spiritual senses are restricted. Jun Changshao was even more aware of why no one had discovered the spirit stone mine. Firstly, it was restricted by spiritual senses. Secondly, the terrain was too complicated. If one wanted to reach this place, they could only rely on luck. Young friend, Ren Shan pointed at the cave in front of them and said, the spirit stone mine is hidden inside. Jun Changshao said, you go down first. Ren Shan shook his head and dragged his injured body into the cave. When the others followed in, they did not see his figure. Their field of vision was all tangled and complicated tunnel entrances. Sect leader, Li Qingyang said, that guy ran away. Humph. Jun Changshao sneered and said, this king already knew that this guy wasn't easy to deal with. The system added, so you still let him run away. Chapter 430. Jun Changshao could tell that Ren Shan was not honest, so he had been paying attention to him along the way. However, what he did not expect was that there was not only one tunnel in the cave, but many tunnels like a maze. As long as a person came in, they would easily disappear without a trace after taking a few steps. Let's just run, Jun Changshao said. It's not a big deal. He did not care about Ren Shan. What he cared about was that they had already arrived at the spirit stone mine. As long as they found the spirit stones, not to mention getting 999, even adding 2 more zeros would not be a problem. Of course, Jun Changshao could also imagine that Ren Shan must be worried that he would harm him. Wasn't this nonsense? Using a dagger to stab him twice. If it was anyone else, they would not dare to work with you. Sect leader Jun could not be blamed for being ruthless. If he did not do that, how would he know about the spirit stone mine? And how would he come here? Damn it, Jiang Ye said rather unhappily. If it were not for the restriction of spiritual sense here, I would definitely be able to catch that kid easily. Li Qingyang said, Sect leader, there are 9 intersections in front of us. Should we go together or separately? Jun Changshao said, let's go together. He was worried about what dangers were hidden in the maze of tunnels. As for which way to go, he did not think about it, and directly chose the entrance that was right in front of him. Jiang Ye said speechlessly, Sect leader, such an intricate place. Entering without thinking about it is too careless. Although he was not old, he had wandered in Jianghu for a few years, and knew that such places often hid mysteries, and every choice was crucial. 3 years ago, Jiang Xie entered a gloomy cave. There was also a tunnel inside. After careful consideration, he successfully walked into a dead end, and even triggered a trap, suffering a lot. If he could take the wrong path after careful consideration, the sect leader's choice without thinking was simply playing with his life. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Jun Changshao said, if I were a fucking feng shui master, who could use a compass to deduce the entrance, I would definitely be chanting Qian, Kanzhen Zhen Sun Li Kuan Dui. Yes, the system said, That kid entered this tunnel. Jun Changzhao's expression froze as he asked in astonishment, "How did you know?" The system said proudly, "I can detect the residual breath in the air to determine if the other party has been here before." "I see." Jun Changzhao said, "You're a dog. You're a dog. You're a dog, you're a dog, you're a dog." The two weirdos, whose misfortunes and blessings were interdependent, cursed each other in their hearts as they walked. They were very amiable. After taking a few steps, they went in two different directions. Sect leader. "Let's go to the right," Jun Changzhao interrupted. Jiang Xia's mouth twitched. As a veteran with experience in exploration, he was explaining seriously, but the sect leader actually didn't listen. He even casually chose a path. What was going on? Jiang Ye sighed and got up to follow. Not long after, they came to another crossroad. Both sides of the tunnel had the same strange pattern. Jiang Ye began to guess and compare it with the pattern just now. "I understand now." Suddenly he said, "This is definitely a mark left by someone on purpose to find the direction next time. If I'm not wrong, it's probably a mark left by Ren Shan and his accomplices. If we can decipher it, we can find that guy." His reasoning was logical and logical. However, when he finished speaking, he found that the sect leader had already led the disciples forward, as if he did not hear him at all. Jiang Ye was speechless. They continued to walk and came across a lot of crossroads. Jun Changzhao did not hesitate at all. He turned left and right, and soon the disciples were confused. Jiang Ye followed behind, holding back his grievances. "I've been to this kind of place before. Why doesn't the sect leader listen to me? Why does he have to run around like a headless fly? No. If they continue like this, they will get lost sooner or later." "Sect leader," Jiang Ye said, "No. There's someone." Shua. Li Qingyang used the cloud-treading steps and rushed over. He directly grabbed Ren Shan, who was about to turn into another intersection, and then, with a wave of his hand, dragged him back. Jiang Ye was dumbfounded. In such a complicated maze of tunnels, there were so many crossroads, and they actually met the guy who ran away before. Wasn't their luck too good? Luck. Jiang Ye was wrong. Sect leader Jun found Ren Shan, who had entered the tunnel first, according to the aura left in the air. Plop. Ren Shan fell to the ground. Because he touched his wound, he immediately grimaced in pain. He howled in his heart. "How did they find me?" Jun Changzhao said, "Is it fun to play hide and seek?" Ren Shan was silent. Jun Changzhao pointed at the intersection in front and said, "I'll give you one more chance. Hurry up and hide. Don't let me find you." Huh. Ren Shan was a little confused. Jiang Ye, Li Qingyang, and the others were also a little confused. To be able to find this guy in such a complicated tunnel, it was definitely a great luck. The sect leader asked him to continue hiding. Was he not joking? "Hurry up," Jun Changzhao shouted in a deep voice. Shua. Ren Shan tried to stand up and dragged his injured body to another entrance without looking back. Everyone's mouth twitched. This was really not a joke. Jiang Ye collapsed and said, "Sect leader, to be able to meet that guy in such a complicated place, how can we let him run away again?" Plop. After walking for a few crossroads, Ren Shan was caught by Li Qingyang and thrown in front of everyone. Jiang Ye's whole body was petrified. Finding him the first time could be considered lucky, but finding him the second time was definitely not a coincidence. "Sect leader, can you not hit me in the face like this? In any case, he is the only elder of our Ironbone sect." Jun Changzhao squatted down and said, "I'll give you one more chance. Hurry up and hide as far away as possible." Ren Shan wanted to cry, but had no tears. "Young friend, I have elders and children to take care of. You're a magnanimous person. Please let me live." He stopped running. To be exact, after being caught twice, he had already realized that the other party must have some special power that could easily find him. Then what was there to run for? He could only surrender. "You can live if you want," Jun Changzhao said. "Take me to the Spirit Stone Vein. If you dare to play any tricks again, you'll leave your life in the tunnel." Okay, I'll take you there." This time, Ren Shan did not play any tricks. Following the marks left by himself and his companions, They soon arrived at a rather spacious cave entrance. The stone wall at the end was inlaid with many crystal-clear ores, and there were rough scratches around it. "Young friend," Ren Shan said timidly, "this is the place." Chapter 431. The cave was quite large, and could accommodate a few hundred people. The stone wall in front of them was inlaid with natural spirit stones that had not been mined. The eyes of Jiangye and the others immediately lit up. Although the Iron Bone Mountain also had some, and they had mined quite a bit, this thing had pure spiritual energy, so no one would complain about it. Jun Changshao walked over, pointed at the rough marks on the stone wall, and said, "Did you leave them behind?" "No," Ren Shan said with a blank face. "When we left, the stone wall was very intact. There were no traces of damage left." Moreover, he looked around and was even more puzzled. "Why does it feel like the cave is much bigger than last time?" "Oh," Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "Could it be that there are other people who know about this spirit stone vein?" "It can't be." Ren Shan was in disbelief. After all, this place was very hidden, and there were high-level vicious beasts outside. There were definitely not many people with his luck. Jun Changshao didn't care if anyone knew about it or not. What he was thinking about now was how to dig out all the spirit stones, without leaving a single one behind. Although he was missing 999 stones, since he had found the vein, he would definitely take all of them. As for Ren Shan, well, just give him a few hundred as a labor fee. The system ridiculed. "The host is really sorry for the title of chivalrous warrior. If there was a function to take it back, I'm afraid it would have been taken away long ago. Every man for himself, and the heavens and earth will destroy him." Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "Treasure, start digging." Li Qingyang and the others received the order, then took out their cold-edged sword, and began to peel off the spirit stones on the stone wall. Ren Shan was startled. It was his first time digging with his companions, and he had destroyed quite a few spirit stones. These people were very skilled, completely unlike newbies who were mining for the first time. "Little friend," Ren Shan said timidly, "I've brought it to the place, can I leave now?" He didn't care if the spirit stones were dug out. He only hoped to leave as soon as possible, so as to avoid being silenced by this guy. Martial arts resources were good, but he only had one life, so it was especially important. "You can't leave," Jun Changshao said. "Qianqian, watch him. Don't let him slip away." Lu Qianqian didn't say anything, but she was already standing in front of the exit. Ren Shan couldn't help but shiver. The mountain wall was very hard, but in front of the sharpness of the cold-edged sword, it was like tofu. Jun Changshao, Li Qingyang, and the others began to dig. In just 2 hours, they had dug out 600 to 700 stones. Sect leader, Jiangye transmitted his voice. "I'm afraid there are still a lot of spirit stones here. If we dig, I'm afraid it will take a long time." Jun Changshao stopped and asked, "Can you get in touch with the sect?" Jiangye said, "With my current understanding of the sound transmission technique, I can only reach a range of 1,000 miles. I have to ride on a hurricane wolf and travel a bit more before I can reach him." "Take that kid out," Jun Changshao said. "Contact the sect as soon as possible and have Hall Masterly summon all the members of the Wolf Rider Hall." There was strength in numbers. If they could dig it out as quickly as possible, they would dig it out. "All right." Jiangye grabbed Ren Shan with one hand and brought him out of the cave. Li Qingyang and the others continued to dig. One by one, the natural spirit stones were freshly produced and kept into the space ring. However, after digging for another hour, Lu Qianqian frowned and said, "Sect leader, there's movement in the tunnel." Jun Changshao and the others all stopped. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The cave quieted down, and a rubbing sound could be heard coming from the exit. And it was getting clearer and clearer, as if something was crawling over. Li Qingyang frowned. "Sect leader, there won't be any pythons or other fierce beasts in this tunnel, right?" "It's possible." Jun Changshao also judged from the rustling sound that it was more like the crawling sound of a snake, so he warned everyone, "Be careful." Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji placed the cold-edged sword in front of them. their eyes filled with respect. Yi Xingqian had an indifferent look on his face. To him, no matter what kind of fierce beast it was, as long as it dared to appear, he would let it die. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound of friction with the ground became louder and louder, and it sounded like there were a lot of them. Could it be that a group of snake beasts were crawling over? If an ordinary person heard such a terrifying sound here, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. Especially those girls who were born with a fear of snakes and insects. They would probably be trembling in fear and screaming out loud. Lu Qianqian was a girl, but she was not afraid at all. It seemed that she was not afraid of snakes, but might be afraid of cockroaches. Hoo-hoo. Suddenly, a cold wind blew from the entrance of the tunnel, bringing with it a nauseating stench that almost made everyone vomit on the spot. Hiss! Hiss! At this moment, a strange sound came, and a slender and smooth snake beast quickly crawled over from the entrance of the tunnel. They were about the same as ordinary snakes, about a meter long. However, the difference was that their heads were full of eyes that flickered with a sinister light. Those with trypophobia would definitely feel their scalps explode and their heads spin. Multi-eyed snake, Li Qingyang said. Whoosh! Lu Qianqian unsheathed her cold light sword. The cold sword light flashed, and more than 20 multi-eyed snakes that crawled in were cut in half. However, there were still a large number of snake beasts crawling in from the outside. Their eyes flickered with a sinister light, making people's hair stand on end. Guard the entrance of the tunnel, don't let them in. Jun Changshao shouted. Swoosh! Swoosh! Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji held their swords and went up. Sword light flashed frequently, directly killing the snake beasts that crawled in, and stood at the entrance. The two looked at the entrance of the tunnel, and suddenly gasped. In the visible range, a dense number of snake beasts crawled in quickly. There were so many of them, that they almost occupied the entire tunnel. This, if not 1,000, there were at least 800 or 900 of them. Leader! Li Qingyang's mouth twitched and said, there are so many multi-eyed snakes. Get out of the way! Jun Changshao shouted. Swoosh! Swoosh! Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji hurriedly dodged, revealing the entrance of the tunnel. Ta! Jun Changshao strode forward, and quickly used the imperial fire technique. His palms pushed toward the entrance of the tunnel, and suddenly, hot flames erupted. Huff huff! The exquisite fire formed a fire pillar under the support of the martial skill, completely enveloping the tunnel, and violently penetrating the back. The multi-eyed snakes that were crawling in were unable to withstand the impact of the flames, and the heat formed by the flames. They were instantly burned to ashes, and the ground was scattered with egg-sized crystal cores. This way of killing monsters was definitely super cool. However, before Li Qingyang had time to be happy, multi-eyed snakes suddenly crawled out of the walls of the cave. Damn it! They can even dig holes. Boom! At this moment, the wall on the left suddenly collapsed, and a thick and huge multi-eyed snake crawled out. Its body size could be classified as a python. Multi-eyed snake king, Li Qingyang said solemnly. Boom! 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 The walls in the other directions collapsed, and the thick-bodied multi-eyed snake kings appeared one after another. Behind them, countless multi-eyed snakes gathered. At a glance, one could determine that there were at least 2,000 or 3,000 of them. Seeing so many snakes and so many snake kings, Jun Changshao and the others suddenly realized that the intricate tunnel outside was probably dug by them. This place was not only a spiritual stone mine, but also a large snake nest. Chapter 432. Snakes were really scary, especially when a group of snakes gathered in a densely packed formation. It was even more terrifying. Jun Changshao and the 5 disciples were in the middle of a group of snakes. Not only were there countless small snakes, but there were also several large snakes. The air was filled with a pungent stench, forcing them to hold their breaths. People who were naturally afraid of snakes would have fainted long ago if they were to stand here. Hiss hiss! Thousands of multi-eyed snakes flicked their tongues, their eyes flashing with a sinister light. These small snakes were not scary. After all, they were only 3rd or 4th grade. The scary ones were the large snakes, because they were comparable to peak martial masters. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Rustle, rustle, rustle. At the entrance of the scorched tunnel, there were still many multi-eyed snakes rushing in wave after wave. Sect leader Li Qingyang said solemnly, "We seem to be in trouble." They could still kill dozens or hundreds of them, but thousands of them were too many. Moreover, who knew if there were more in the tunnel? If they were entangled in a protracted battle, it would definitely be very troublesome. There was a more important point. If there was poison, it would only be more disadvantageous for everyone. Hiss! Hiss! A few multi-eyed snake kings screamed. Thousands of multi-eyed snakes slithered over with their slender bodies. Just imagine how creepy it would be to see so many snakes swarming from all directions. The multi-eyed snakes did not rush forward recklessly. Instead, they raised their heads, opened their mouths, and revealed their sharp fangs. The stench was even stronger. Jun Changshao pinched his nose and broke down. Are they trying to kill us? No. They were gathering poison. Gradually, the multi-eyed snake's sharp fangs were dark green, as if they were smeared with poison. Sect leader, Li Qingyang said, "They are poisonous." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the multi-eyed snakes shot over like arrows. Their mouths were open, and it was obvious that they were going to bite with their fangs. Whoosh! Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji waved their cold-edged swords, and immediately, dense sword light intertwined. Poochie! Poochie! The multi-eyed snakes were killed one by one. However, the moment their bodies were separated, dark green blood splattered on the ground, creating a strong corrosive effect. Not only was it poisonous, but it was also extremely toxic. Everyone be careful, Jun Changshao hurriedly said. Don't let the poison touch your body. As he spoke, he flicked his wrist, and dazzling sword flowers shot out explosively. They cut down a few dozen multi-eyed snakes that attacked him, and their poisonous blood poured down like rain. Shwa! 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 Even more snake beasts rushed over like moths that were not afraid of death. Ta! Yi Xingchen could not bear it any longer. He took a step forward, and placed his hand on cold-edged sword. His eyes flashed with a cold light. Clang! The sword was unsheathed, and sword light appeared. Swish, 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 swish. In an instant, Yi Xingchen used the one-word fast technique. More than 50 sword rays flashed in the cave. It was dazzling. Nearly 100 multi-eyed snakes were chopped into pieces under the crisscrossing sword light. Their blood splashed out, and soon formed a dark green curtain of blood. Boom! 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 At the same time, Yi Xingchen's 50-odd strands of sword qi landed on the stone wall, and immediately cut it to pieces. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Behind the broken area, more multi-eyed snakes appeared, and there were many multi-eyed snake kings among them. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them. Fuck! Seeing this, Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. There are so many of them. Boom! Boom! In another direction, Zhou Hong used the one-word fast technique to destroy the incoming multi-eyed snakes. The wall was damaged and collapsed again, and tens of thousands of them appeared. The cave, which could originally accommodate a few hundred people, suddenly became even more spacious as the two walls collapsed. On both sides and at the entrance of the tunnel, there were multi-eyed snakes and multi-eyed snake kings. Due to the space limitation, they were even huddled together, squeezing each other. It was so annoying and disgusting. The system said, 96,321 snakes. Accurate to the single digits, it was absolutely awesome. Jun Changshao was not in the mood to admire the system's calculation ability, and the corners of his mouth twitched even more. If there were only 10 or 20,000 snakes, he was confident that he and his disciples could hold on. But now there were close to 100,000 snakes. Not to mention killing, just looking at them made his scalp tingle. Our arrogant Yi Xingchen looked at the sea of snakes in front of him, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. To be honest, there were a lot of snakes, but there were ways to deal with them. For example, using Red Sky Raging Flame Slash or 7 Mystic Sunglow Break. But now they were in a cave, and if they used powerful martial arts, not to mention causing a collapse, it would be terrible if it affected the Spirit Stone Mine. Sect leader, Li Qingyang said, "What should we do?" Jun Changshao frowned. If there is no other way, use martial arts and kill them all. He did not care if the spirit stone mine was destroyed, because in the current situation, surviving was the most important thing. Ding! Side mission activated. Could it be that the mission was related to the multi-eyed snakes? As expected, opening the data panel, the mission displayed was eliminate all the multi-eyed snakes without destroying the spirit stone mine. Countdown. 119,120 seconds. Time limit mission. Elite mission. Damn. After seeing the mission, Sect leader Jun cursed in his heart. Just now, he was still thinking that if there was no other way, he would destroy the spirit stone mine to eliminate the multi-eyed snakes. In the end, a mission that could not be destroyed was given, and it only had 120 seconds. Whoosh whoosh. On the other side, Yi Xingqian had already begun to use Red Sky Raging Flame Slash, and the spiritual energy around his body gradually turned into a fire-like attribute, filled with a sense of irritation. This was just the beginning. When condensed to the extreme and used, it would definitely form a powerful lethality. At that time, the cave would definitely be destroyed. Jun Changshao hurriedly said, "Don't use this move, lest you destroy the spirit stone mine." Yi Xingqian could only disperse the power of the flames. Hiss. At this moment, thousands of multi-eyed snakes crawled over. Their exposed teeth were already smeared with poison, and if they were to charge dauntlessly, it would definitely be difficult to defend. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Lu Qianqian, Yi Xingqian, and Zhou Hong surrounded the sect leader, forming a pentagon. They couldn't use high-grade martial arts techniques, and facing so many multi-eyed snakes, they really didn't have much confidence in their hearts. "Get out of the way," Jun Changshao said in a deep voice. "This venerable one is going to use his true strength." As he spoke, he lightly raised his left hand, and the space in his palm blurred, and a pocket-sized toy knife suddenly appeared. This was hard to withdraw knife, since they couldn't destroy the spirit stone mine, and they had to eliminate all the multi-eyed snakes within 2 minutes. Jun Changshao could only use his biggest trump card. Li Qingyang and the others had witnessed the sect leader wielding this saber in Death Valley, so they knew how powerful it was. It could easily kill a fire dragon of the 5th rank. Thus, they immediately moved aside to create enough space for the saber to be used. How much space did they move? That's right, 40 meters was just right. Xiao. Just at this moment, the thousands of multi-eyed snakes that crawled over launched an attack, shooting over like sharp arrows. There were so many of them that it was as if they had turned into a rain of arrows. Pa! The opening talisman of the spatial ring was crushed, and the seal of hard-to-withdraw knife was immediately removed. Jun Changxiao's right hand pinched the handle of the knife, and his body slightly bent down. With a cold gaze he said, "Bankai fury slashing the 9 heavens." Clang hard-to-withdraw knife was unsheathed, and the light in the cave was dazzling. Li Qingyang and the others found it difficult to adapt, and they hurriedly raised their hands to block in front of their eyes. And when they felt the majestic and heavy aura rushing towards them, their minds were deeply shaken. The sect leader had turned on his pretentious mode again. Chapter 433. Jun Changshao unsheathed hard saber for the 3rd time. Perhaps it was because his cultivation had increased, but the majestic aura of the unsheathed saber was stronger than that of the Death Valley. The flashing light made it difficult for the 5 disciples to open their eyes. After a while, the light weakened, and everything returned to normal. Jun Changshao stood proudly. The unsheathed hard saber was 40 meters long, and exuded a majestic aura. One word could describe it: handsome. Under the suppression of the powerful aura, the multi-eyed snakes that attacked like a rain of arrows froze in midair. Their eyes were filled with fear. Swoosh! Jun Changshao waved his hand. His black hair danced in the wind. The 40-meter-long saber swept across mercilessly. Swoosh! Swoosh! The multi-eyed snakes that were frozen in place by some special force were harvested like weeds. Swoosh! Sect leader Jun waved hard saber again, and slashed at the snakes that had gathered together. He began to stir crazily like a blender. The multi-eyed snakes that were controlled by the aura could not move at all. What awaited them was death, or even being chopped into pieces. Swoosh! Swoosh! Sect leader Jun, who had activated his pretentious mode, waved hard saber frequently. Nearly 100,000 multi-eyed snakes could only become pitiful lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Yi Xingchen was shocked. What kind of divine weapon is this? He did not care about Jun Changxiao's crazy slaughter. What he cared about was that the aura that permeated the surroundings had the ability to disturb people's minds. The multi-eyed snakes could not move. They were definitely suppressed. A martial king could gather spiritual sense and form a defensive wall around his body. Wu Huang could transform his spiritual energy into an aura to intimidate his opponent and make it difficult for them to move. A saber had such an ability. It was unbelievable. Yi Xingchen tried to recall the past. He could not think of such a divine weapon in the Falling Star continent. Unless it was from the upper realm. Swoosh, swoosh. The saber flashed coldly. The many-eyed snakes, and even the many-eyed snake king, that had been suppressed were quickly killed. Blood and minced meat were scattered everywhere. The stench in the air became stronger. The time limit for the side mission was also jumping. In less than 20 seconds, nearly 100,000 multi-eyed snakes in the huge cave were all killed. Jun Changxiao dragged his 40-meter saber, and his entire body was shrouded in a thick and heavy aura. He gave Li Qingyang and the others the feeling that he was an invincible war god. Ding! Side mission completed. Hosts will receive 2,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 6911500. Ding! Sect contribution points overflow. The system said, not bad, not bad. A side quest gave you 2,000 contribution points. Not bad. Jun Changxiao cursed in his heart. I only have 2 opening talismans. Now that I've wasted one, I won't get 5,000 contribution points. I'll definitely lose out. Time limit mission plus elite mission. This made him realize that once the mission was completed, the reward would definitely be generous. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to deal with so many multi-eyed snakes within 2 minutes. Therefore, Jun Changxiao did not consider using hard to stop. Now he was only given 2,000 contribution points. What a huge loss. I knew this would happen. Jun Changxiao broke down and said, it's better to let the mission fail. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the elite mission. You've received Experience Talisman X1. Supreme Grade Aptitude Modification Liquid X1. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the time limit mission. You've received Middle Grade Formation Aptitude Liquid X1. Middle Grade Swordsmanship Aptitude Liquid X1. The follow-up prompt sounded. Jun Changxiao, who was in the midst of breaking down, suddenly stiffened. Sometimes one shouldn't speak too early, because even the protagonist could be slapped in the face at the speed of light. If it was such a slap in the face, Jun Changxiao would definitely be like the readers who hoped that the author would release more chapters to slap in the face. At a deadline and slap me in the face for 100,000 years. The system said, do you still feel that you've lost out? Jun Changxiao grinned and said, it's not a loss, it's super profitable. A single opening talisman not only protected the Spirit Stone mine, but also gave him 2,000 contribution points and so many other rewards. Indeed super profitable. Not to mention other things. Just the Experience Talisman as a reward was enough to make Jun Changxiao grin from ear to ear. Not to mention the Middle Grade Formation Aptitude Liquid and Middle Grade Swordsmanship Aptitude Liquid. Ha ha ha. Ah ha ha ha. Jun Changxiao laughed so hard that his face was crooked. Li Qingyang and the others were dumbfounded, thinking, why is the sect leader laughing so hard for no reason? Xiao. The hard blade shrunk and returned to its pocket-sized form. Jun Changxiao had just sheathed the blade when his whole body seemed to have been hollowed out in an instant, and he fell limp. The hard blade was very powerful. This was undeniable, but its weakness was also very obvious. After using it, one had to be weak for 30 minutes. Don't just stand there. Jun Changxiao said, hurry up and pick up the crystal cores. Li Qingyang and the others received the order. They first used stones to cover the poisonous blood, then put the scattered crystal cores into the space ring. Other than the high-level crystal core of the multi-eyed Snake King, the other crystal cores were too low-level and small in size, completely meaningless. However, Jun Changxiao didn't mind. After all, the sect had an incubator. If they found more eggs of dire beasts in the future, they could use it to increase the mutation rate. The system said, "The host is thinking too far." 30 minutes later, Jun Changxiao's weakness disappeared, and he jumped up and ordered, "You guys continue to mine the spirit stones." The multi-eyed snake king had been exterminated, and the cave became very safe. Li Qingyang and the others could concentrate on mining, and the natural spirit stones were dug out one by one. Sect leader Jun's consciousness entered the space ring, and he held the experience talisman in his hand, crushing it without hesitation. Huff huff. In an instant, a majestic aura spread out from his body and enveloped the whole cave. Li Qingyang and the others who were mining turned their heads and said in surprise, "The sect leader is about to break through?" Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the 8th stage of Wuzong. Ding! The host has successfully broken through to the 9th stage of Wuzong. When the notification sounded in his ears, Jun Changxiao's spiritual energy core and vortex underwent a huge change. It was purer and stronger than before. Huff! Jun Changxiao exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and the aura around him disappeared. He couldn't help but say, "How refreshing." Li Qingyang and the others' mouths twitched. They had just exterminated a group of multi-eyed snakes in the cave, and the sect leader had suddenly broken through? And from the aura, it seemed like he had reached a very high level of Wuzong. Not bad. He was only one step away from the peak of Wuzong. According to the previous pattern, when I reach the peak of Wuzong, an epic mission will be triggered. Jun Changxiao thought to himself. Shua. With a thought, he took out 2 types of mid-grade liquid that represented the array Dao and the sword Dao, and drank them one by one. Huff huff. In an instant, countless knowledge related to the array Dao and the sword Dao appeared in sect leader Jun's mind. Especially when he thought about the Ling Jian's divine formula. He felt like he was suddenly enlightened. The system said, with the host's current understanding of the sword Dao, as long as you reach the peak of Wuzong and break through a large realm, you will become the extremely rare sword Dao and martial Dao king in the falling star continent. Is that so? Jun Changxiao replied. If someone who practiced both sword and martial arts heard this kind of nonchalant answer, they would definitely rush over and strangle him by the neck and roar. Do you know how rare it is to be a sword and martial king? Why can't you show a shocked expression? It couldn't be helped. To become the sword Dao and martial Dao kings, one had to go through a lot of trials and cultivation. Because he had experienced it personally, he knew how precious it was. Sect leader Jun relied on the liquid to increase his cultivation. He didn't experience the hardships, and naturally couldn't understand how great it was. Sigh. Players with cheats were indeed amazing. Chapter 434. Let's calculate how sect leader Jun rose from Wuzong to 9th rank Wuzong. First, he completed the epic mission in the Holy Spring sect, and entered 2nd rank Wuzong from peak martial master. Second, with the help of the experience talisman, he won 3 ranks in a row and entered 5th rank Wuzong. Third, with the help of a large number of natural spirit stones, he entered 7th rank Wuzong from 5th rank Wuzong in a short period of 10 days. Fourth, with the help of the experience talisman, he advanced 2 ranks in a row and entered 9th rank Wuzong. In summary, Jun Changxiao really relied on cultivation to reach 7th rank, but he still had the help of natural spirit stones from 5th rank to 7th rank. Other people spend a lot of effort to condense spirit energy, comprehend martial arts, and advance step by step. He was good. He used cheats to advance the whole time, completely unreasonable. What was more shameless was, as long as he entered the big realm, with the help of the mid-grade sword path aptitude fluid, he would become the sword and martial king. There was not the slightest ripple in his heart. To be honest, I want to beat him up. Some readers might not be able to stand it, and say that the protagonist relied on the system. Without the system, he was nothing. Indeed, without the system, Jun Changxiao would have been dead long ago. But since the system could bring him so much convenience, why couldn't he use it? He even gave me a bottle of the best aptitude modification fluid. Who should I give it to? Jun Changxiao thought. Speaking of the best aptitude modification fluid, he remembered something and hurriedly opened the purchase store. Sure enough, the 1-year limited aptitude modification fluid changed from gray to bright, indicating that it could be purchased. What made Jun Changxiao even more surprised was that, originally, he was limited to 3 bottles per year. But now that the cooldown was restored, he could actually buy 5 bottles. The system said, that's because the Sect's construction was upgraded. I see. Jun Changxiao hurriedly chose the highest value and clicked on the purchase button. Ding! The host has spent 1,500 contribution points and obtained the aptitude modification fluid X5. It has been transferred to the space ring. Ding! Sect contribution points. 5411500. There are still 411 points. Jun Changxiao rubbed his chin and pondered for a moment before he said, why don't we buy another AWM and equip it with Drizzle Hall? He did as he was told and spent 500 contribution points to buy a God-modified AWM. When his contribution points returned to 4,911 points, Jun Changxiao and his disciples began to dig for natural spirit stones. One opening seal talisman, completed the side quest, and improved his realm and various attributes. He also bought 5 bottles of the best quality attribute modification fluid and an AWM sniper rifle. Oh my god. It felt so good that Jun Changxiao was laughing foolishly while mining. The next day, Jiangye dragged Renshan in. The 500 members of the Wolf Rider Hall followed closely behind. The reason why they were able to arrive so quickly was naturally because they were riding on hurricane wolves. Looking at the snake corpses all over the ground in the cave, Jiangye said with a confused expression, why are there so many multi-eyed snakes? Jun Changxiao briefly explained the situation and ordered the members of the Wolf Rider Hall to start mining. The more people there were, the more power there was. Several hundred members of the Wolf Rider Hall participated in the mining. Spirit stones were peeled off one after another, and the stone wall extended endlessly into the depths. Renshan's mouth twitched. Previously, he and his companions had spent a lot of effort and only managed to dig out 200 to 300 spirit stones. This group of people dug out 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones in 2 hours. There was no way they could compare. Jun Changxiao did not dig the spirit stones himself. He sat on a chair with his legs crossed and happily took out the 32 formations of wonder to study. With the middle-grade formation talent, he was eager to study the middle-grade spirit-gathering formation. Only then could he improve his and his disciples' cultivation speed faster. The structure principle is similar to a beginner one, but in terms of formation, it's more complicated. It's not something that can be learned in a short time. Jun Changxiao thought to himself. Young friend. Renshan leaned over and said weakly, can you let me go now? Jun Changxiao looked at him and said, you're a koi fish. How can I let you go? Koi fish. Renshan's expression changed drastically. He was comparing himself to a fish that was placed on a chopping board to be chopped. His imagination was quite rich. In fact, koi fish represented luck and auspiciousness. Jun Changxiao called Renshan a koi fish. It was completely reasonable. In the depths of the Black Devil Forest, which was full of danger and had a complicated environment, he discovered a spirit stone mine. Although he was discovered by the Demon Channeling Hall and was hunted down, his companions all died in the mouths of ferocious beasts, while he escaped unscathed. He had just escaped from the jaws of the tiger and fell into a pack of wolves. He was hunted down by the Demon Channeling Hall again. Just as he was about to die, he appeared and allowed him to escape death again. Who else could have such luck? More importantly, the Spirit Stone Mine was actually the nest of the multi-eyed snake. He and his companions could discover it, and even mine the spirit stones. Other than the main character of a novel, who else could have better luck? How could Sect Master Jun let such a koi fish go? Thus he said, are you interested in joining my sect? Sect. Renshan was stunned. What sect? Ironbone Clan, Jun Changxiao said. Ironbone Clan? Renshan's expression changed. Then he thought of something and said in surprise. You are disciples of Ironbone clan? From his expression, it was obvious that he had heard of Ironbone. The biggest advantage of being a rogue cultivator was that he could get a lot of information from many channels when he was in the Jianghu all year round. First, they defeated the Sacred Spring Sect and destroyed 4 evil sections. Ren Shan must have heard of Ironbone and even discussed it with his companions. Brother Shan, I heard that the Ironbone clan master is not old. He is only 18 or 19 years old. This was what one of his companions said before he died. The person in front of him called himself this lord, and was so young. Could it be? Ren Shan's expression changed. He said in surprise, "You are the Ironbone clan master Jun Changxiao?" "That's right," Jun Changxiao said. Ren Shan's expression changed again and again. At that moment, he finally understood why the other party dared to destroy the people of the Demon Channeling Hall. After all, this sect had fought with the third-rate Deicide Hall. Sect Master Jun. Ren Shan hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "I am willing to join the Ironbone clan." What a joke. He might not have the means to join such a potential sect. Now that Sect Master Jun had taken the initiative to invite him to join, this was definitely an opportunity that could not be missed. Furthermore, if he refused, he might be killed to silence him. Shua. Jun Changxiao waved his hand and took out the entry form. After filling in his name, he stamped the sect master's seal. The number of people in the sect and the contribution points increased by 1 point. From today onwards, you are my Ironbone disciple. Make good use of your koi attribute and bring more luck to the sect. The corner of Ren Shan's mouth twitched slightly. We're already on the same side. Why do you still treat me like a fish? Don't just stand there, Jun Changxiao said. Hurry up and go dig for spirit stones. Ren Shan collapsed. Sect Master, I am injured right now, I can't do heavy work. Jun Changxiao threw over a middle-grade heal pill and said, Eat it. Ren Shan caught the pill. Although he had doubts in his heart, he still obediently swallowed it. His injuries quickly healed, and he was dumbfounded on the spot. Oh my god! What kind of elixir was this? It could actually heal his injuries in an instant. Chapter 435. Ren Shan was afraid that he would be killed to silence him, so he chose to join the Ironbone. Little did he know that sect leader Jun accepted him as a disciple, because he was worried that the news of him finding a spirit stone vein in the Black Devil Forest would spread. Becoming my disciple, as long as you betray me, your memories will be erased, which is equivalent to an arrangement. Ding dong! Ding dong! Inside the cave, the Ironbone disciple held the sharp cold-edged sword and harvested as fast as he could. This spirit stone vein wasn't big, and it was completely harvested in just a few days. After counting, he had obtained a total of more than 30,000 spirit stones. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, Compared to our Ironbone Mountain spirit stone vein, it can't be compared at all. Jiang Ye said, Sect leader, this should be a small spirit stone vein. If it was a little bigger, it would have formed a phenomenon of heaven and earth. It would have been difficult to hide it with the miasma in the forest alone. So that's how it is. Jun Changxiao led everyone out of the cave. When they reached the forest, he summoned the Hurricane Wolf King and returned to the Ironbone. Shua, shua, shua. One by one, the Hurricane Wolves carried the Ironbone disciples through the depths of the forest. Because there were too many of them, the beasts hiding in the dark were all trembling in fear. Ren Shan, who was riding with Xiao Zueji, once again saw that the Ironbone faction's disciple was riding on a ferocious wind elemental wolf beast. He couldn't calm down and thought to himself, my fate might change because I joined the Ironbone faction. Jun Changxiao had definitely earned a lot from this trip to Mount Hua, not to mention the contribution points and various goods. Just the 30,000 plus natural spirit stones were enough to make him smile from ear to ear. Sect leader. Returning to the sect, Jun Changxiao had just sat down in the main hall when Hall Masterly reported back. During the time you were away, you have mined more than 20,000 spirit stones. Is that so? Jun Changxiao grinned. At present, he had already accumulated more than 70,000 natural spirit stones, which would definitely help him and his disciples improve. Moreover, judging from the strange phenomenon that had arisen earlier, the spirit stone vein of Mount Iron Bone meant that it was at least a large and medium-sized vein, and it could continue to be mined for a long time. Based on the mining rate of 3,000 pills per day, that would be more than 1,000,000 pills per year. It was definitely a continuous supply. It wasn't enough. He also had to increase the intensity of his martial arts resources. After returning, Jun Changshao focused all his attention on the middle-grade spirit gathering array. He stayed in his room for 3 whole days before coming out with some success. Back mountain. Jun Changshao started to upgrade the elementary spirit gathering array. Roughly 4 hours later, not only did he manage to raise his cultivation to intermediate tier, the range of his cultivation base had also expanded significantly, allowing him to accommodate 1,000 disciples. Hoo-hoo! Inside the array formation, boundless heaven and earth attributes surged madly into it, and its strength continued to increase. When it was finally fixed, it increased from 30 times the spiritual power to 100 times the spiritual power. Jun Changshao knew that this must be the limit of the middle-grade spirit gathering array. This was because it was very clear on the 32 formations that it could condense 60 times more spiritual energy than the outside world. Due to the recovery of spiritual energy, the Iron Bone's spiritual energy strength had reached 20 times. If it was multiplied by 60 times, it would definitely break through 1,000, not just 100. The system said, the formation of the 32 formations is based on the most ordinary spiritual energy strength, and it also has a certain limit. If it really reaches a level of 1,000 times, it will definitely not be able to withstand it and explode on the spot. 100 times is already not bad. Jun Changshao said contentedly. At least I and my disciples can cultivate here for an hour, which is equivalent to 100 hours of other people's absorption. Iron Bone now had high-level martial arts and various equipment. The only thing it lacked was a higher cultivation. The middle-grade spirit gathering array and the high multiplier chi gathering pill were undoubtedly the key to upgrading. Jun Changshao clapped his hands and said, "Next, let the disciples cultivate steadily for a period of time and step into the martial master level from the martial disciple level." With a cultivation holy land like the middle-grade spirit gathering array, breaking through would be extremely easy. However, stepping into a large realm required a martial cultivator's comprehension of the martial Tao. It was fine. Sect leader Jun had the martial master pill. As long as the disciples stepped into the peak of the martial disciple level, they could easily step into the martial master level after taking it. However, the herbs required were many and very expensive. It was still very unrealistic to mass-produce them at the moment. In the herb garden, Jun Changshao sat in a small pavilion and took out the herbs needed to refine the martial master pill. He said, "Now that the sect has stronger spiritual energy, how long will it take to grow these herbs?" Elder Wei thought for a moment and said, "The fastest is 3 months." He used to say 3 to 5 years, but now it was only 3 months. It was obvious that the recovery of spiritual energy and the transformation of the soil by Peppa Wild Boar had brought significant benefits. "Can it be faster?" Jun Changshao asked. Elder Wei shook his head and said, "With my current ability, 3 months is the limit." "All right," Jun Changshao said. "I will go and get the seeds. Elder Wei, you can first plan an area to plant these herbs." "Okay," Elder Wei said. The herb garden had now expanded from 10 mu to 100 mu. It was no problem to plant herbs of other qualities. "Oh my god!" Su Xiaoma exclaimed in the middle-grade spirit gathering array. "The spiritual energy here is stronger than before." Li Fei said, "It's only been 4 hours and the sect leader has already transformed the array to be so strong. He's a top array master." While the two of them were exclaiming, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others had already sat down cross-legged. The strength of their bodies had been tempered to the extreme in the training tower, so they could break through their cultivation faster. With such strong spiritual energy, coupled with chi gathering pills and spirit stones, it'll be easy to become a peak martial master. Yi Xingchen thought to himself. After the transformation of the middle-grade spirit gathering array, the disciples who had been in the training tower for a long time put their focus on cultivation. Some people were only at the martial disciple level. With chi gathering pills and chi gathering pills, they could easily advance by a level after cultivating for a day or two. Whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh. Within the spell formation, disciples were showing signs of advancing to the next level at almost every moment. Jun Changshao was worried that it would affect the cultivation of the other disciples, so he made improvements. He divided the array into many independent spaces and named them cultivation rooms. In this way, the Iron-Bone disciples were even more diligent in their cultivation. The disciples who had just entered the sect, such as Shui Rengui and his subordinates, mainly spent their time in the molding room to train their bodies in all aspects. Of course, sect leader Jun had been observing Shui Rengui and temporarily ordered him to take care of the members of the Wolf Rider Hall. He was not disappointed. Shui Rengui, who was a general, was very good at training. He even studied many cavalry tactics based on the hurricane wolves that the members were riding. Ironbone Mountain empty grassland. 500 members of the Wolf Rider Hall were galloping on their hurricane wolves. Under the frequent waving of Shui Rengui's war flag, they were sometimes divided into small groups, and sometimes divided into small groups. They were arranged in many square formations. On the mountain peak, Jun Changshao looked at the disciples who had been trained for only a few days and could cooperate so well. He said, "This Shui Rengui is also a talent." Jiang Ye said, "After all, he is a general." Li Luoqiu suggested, "I think it is most suitable for him to be the Wolf Rider Hall's hall master." Managing 2 halls in a row did not give her much time to cultivate. She definitely hoped that the sect leader would quickly find someone qualified to replace her. "It's settled then," Jun Changshao said. "The Wolf Rider Hall's hall master will be Shui Rengui." The next day, all the disciples were gathered, and the first hall master of the Wolf Rider Hall was announced to be Shui Rengui. The subordinates he brought were all assigned to the Wolf Rider Hall, and each of them was given a hurricane wolf. Shui Rengui stepped forward and took the waist token that represented the hall master's identity. He said solemnly, "Thank you for your trust, sect leader. I will do my best to take care of the Wolf Rider Hall." 3 updates, please vote. Chapter 436. Shui Rengui, who was a general, was definitely more suitable than Li Luoqiu to be the head of the Wolf Riding Hall. After all, the latter was more suited to training assassins, and not the Wolf Riding Hall. Of course, the Wolf Riding Hall needed to be developed, and so did the Drizzle Hall. After all, its main purpose was not to train assassins, but to train more intelligence personnel. Hall Masterly. In the hall of the Drizzle Hall, Jun Changshao took a sip of tea and said, "We already have spies in the 8 cities of the Azure Sun County. Next, this king plans to continue expanding. It would be best if we can cover the surrounding counties as well." Li Luoqiu loaded the magazine of the AK-47 and glanced at it. "Sect Master, you have to give more people." A charming and enchanting woman, holding an AK-47. The scene was really beautiful. To be honest, Sect Master Jun could remain calm in front of such a charming and beautiful woman every day. He was either a gentleman or a gay. Is 100 enough? More or less. Li Luoqiu picked up the AWM sniper rifle and played with it. "You choose the personnel," Jun Changshao said. "You have to train them as soon as possible and send them to the surrounding counties." "Okay." After talking about business, Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "Sect Master, can you accompany me to practice shooting?" "Sure." Sect Master Jun said very straightforwardly. Da-da-da. In the open area behind the mountain, Li Luoqiu, who was wearing a red dress and had a perfect figure, was shooting wildly with the AK-47. Because of the recoil, her chest was trembling, and it was a spectacular sight. Sect Master. After shooting a magazine of bullets, Hall Masterly put away the gun and smiled. "Although this gun is not very powerful, it can shoot continuously. It seems pretty good." Sect Master, Why is your nose bleeding? I'm fine. After watching Li Luoqiu practice shooting, Jun Changxiao wiped the blood from his nose and returned to the study. Then he skillfully opened the beginner's shop. The last time he refreshed, he bought the AK-47 and didn't look at it again. So he naturally had to continue looking. There was an item in the fourth row that attracted Jun Changxiao's attention. It was called the Seed Incubation Pond. This was in the introduction. Item: Seed Incubating Pond Introduction, a high-tech seed nourishing item. Effect: any seed only needs to soak in the incubation pool for 2 hours. After planting, it can double the planting speed. Note: grain seeds can also increase production. Price: 200 contribution points. I'll go, Jun Changxiao said in surprise. This is good stuff. It would take 3 months to grow the herbs required to refine the martial master pill. If the herbs were to be soaked in the incubating pond for 4 hours, wouldn't it only take 1.5 months? And the ingredients for the qi gathering pill? If it could be improved as well, wouldn't it increase from half a month to 7 or 8 days? Buy. Ding. The host has spent 200 contribution points and received a seed incubation pool X1. It has been transferred into the space ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 47125000. The seed incubation pond was similar to a bathtub. There was a strange liquid in it that was grassland green and exuded a vigorous aura. Jun Changxiao threw the herbs required to refine the qi gathering pill into the pond and soaked them for 2 hours. He came to the herb garden and said, "Elder Wei, I have a batch of special seeds here. You can plant them first." Special seeds? Elder Wei took it and felt the aura of the seeds. His face changed and he said, "Sect leader, these seeds are of very high quality." This was very high quality. Elder Wei had been planting herbs for so many years, but he had never seen herbs with such a strong aura. In terms of martial cultivation, it was definitely superior. Elder Wei hurriedly chose an excellent herb garden and planted the hundreds of seeds one by one. The next day the seeds sprouted. Elder Wei said in disbelief, "This growth speed is 1 day faster than before." 2 days of germination became 1 day of germination, which made him realize that if he planted them, the speed would be 2 times faster than before. Elder Wei could also make the herbs grow faster, but the disadvantage was that the seeds could not absorb enough nutrients, causing the spiritual energy of the herbs to weaken. The same was true for the herbs used to refine the martial master pill. If you want to be fast, you can do it, but you have to pay the price of consuming spiritual energy. However, when Elder Wei carefully observed the spiritual energy contained in the sprouts, he found that not only was the spiritual energy weakened, it was even stronger than what he had planted before. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Even the experienced and knowledgeable Elder Wei was shocked by this special seed. How is the effect? In the afternoon, Jun Changxiao came to ask. Elder Wei said solemnly, "Sect leader, this kind of special seed takes at most 7 or 8 days to grow. After it matures, the spiritual energy intensity is also very high." "Is that so?" Jun Changxiao laughed. The seeds could quickly grow into herbs, and the spiritual energy intensity was also high. This would undoubtedly allow the disciples to break through their cultivation faster. Jun Changxiao placed the seeds in the medicinal hall, and Elder Wei was in charge of soaking them before planting them. After he was done, Li Luoqiu came to see him and handed over 100 selected members to join the drizzle hall. Some of them did not have high cultivation, but they were smart and suitable for intelligence gathering. The spirit gathering array was improved, and the seeds were also improved. The next step was to wait for the disciples to break through their cultivation faster. As for our sect leader Jun, he did not have time to cultivate. After he was done with everything, he left for Huyang City without stopping. He wanted to get more seeds to refine the martial master pill, and let the people in the medicinal hall plant them. Speaking of which, it was fortunate that Jun Changxiao had the experienced talisman and other supplementary items that allowed him to quickly increase his cultivation. Otherwise, he would be busy with the sect's matters all day, and would not have time to cultivate in peace. Sect leader Jun, In the AI family's medicinal hall, AI Shang handed over a spatial ring and said, "It's hard for me to find the herbs on the list, but there are many seeds." "How much?" Jun Changshao asked. "It's not worth much. Just take it as a gift for sect leader Jun," AI Shang smiled. "How can I accept it?" Although Jun Changshao said this, he still had the nerve to accept it. However, before he left behind 50 beginner healing pills and 20 body-shaping pills. Sect leader Jun left the medicinal hall and went to the Iron Bone Beast material shop to ask about the business situation before returning to the Iron Bone shop. With the seeds to refine the martial master pill, Elder Wei began to soak and plant them on a large scale. As for the area of the medicinal garden, it had to be expanded from 100 mu to 500 mu. Cuckoo, poor Peppa the wild boar released the earth element and continued to expand the land. Because of the high-intensity work during this period, its body had become thinner. However, it was also getting stronger and stronger. At least it did not look like a lazy pig anymore. 3 days later, Li Qingyang reported as usual, "Sect leader, the junior brothers and sisters have all broken through to the martial disciple realm." The new disciples relied on various resources to successfully become martial disciples. In the entire Iron Bone, except for Yao Menjing who did not practice martial arts, everyone was a martial disciple. Moreover, after the transformation of the body-shaping pills, the molding machine and the training tower, none of them were ordinary martial disciples. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "It's time to open the sect and continue to recruit disciples." Chapter 437. Now that the spirit gathering formation had been upgraded, the disciples could quickly break through. Next, what he needed to do was to fill up all the members and trigger a real sect mission to improve the sect. But, Jun Changshao murmured, with the recent frequent recruitment, it will be very difficult to recruit a youth with good aptitude in Azure Sun County. The system said, "Doesn't the host like challenges? If you recruit the lowest aptitude, you will definitely be able to fill it up quickly." "Get lost," Jun Changshao said. In the past, he liked challenges and nurtured low-grade youths. However, the key was that he couldn't recruit anyone at that time, so he could only choose low-grade ones. Now it was different. The sect had enough prestige, and its rank had increased from 7th rate to 6th rate. Moreover, disciples like Li Fei and Tianqi had been nurtured into talents, which was enough to prove that he had the ability to turn something rotten into something magical. Therefore, the future disciples would definitely have to have a high requirement for spirit roots. Developing a sect was not like opening a welfare institute. Martial cultivators with higher aptitudes would naturally be nurtured faster than those with lower aptitudes. The system said, "Host, you are now as arrogant as you were when we met in the martial world." "Arrogant, your sister," Jun Changshao cursed. He held his chin and said, "You can recruit from other counties." The system said, "It's fine for cultivators from other counties to join Iron Bone, but if the host recruits from other counties, it will definitely cause a lot of trouble." Jun Changshao was silent. There were many people in the Falling Star continent, but there were only a few talents. Going to other people's territory to recruit disciples was indeed no different from going to cause trouble. Damn it! Jun Changshao collapsed. Do we really have to recruit low-grade youths and rely on various resources to slowly improve? Sect Master. At this moment, Li Qingyang walked into the main hall and said, "Thank you for your visit, City Lord." "Please," Jun Changshao said. In the main hall, Xie Guangquan sat down and said with a worried expression, "Sect Master Jun, the thing that I have been worried about is finally coming." "What is it?" Jun Changshao asked. Xie Guangquan took out a letter and said, "This is the letter of persuasion sent by the True Yang County Chief yesterday." Oh, Jun Changshao took it and opened the envelope. The general idea was for Qingyang City to surrender. Otherwise, the city would be besieged soon. Hee, Jun Changshao said. "So open and above board," Xie Guangquan sighed and said. According to this Xie's information, Xinjiang County's 200,000-strong army has split into 2 groups and is heading towards Huayang County and Heian County. If the 2 counties are breached, Wouldn't our Azure Sun County be sandwiched? Jun Changshao said. That's right. Xie Guangquan said. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, This Xinjiang County's county chief is truly an ambitious and ruthless person. Xie Guangquan continued. The true Sun County has sent 200,000 soldiers this time. The White Tiger Legion led by General Bai Ruihu not only has a high cultivation, but they are also well equipped. They are the elites of the elites. If they come, our Azure Sun County will be in danger. How long will it take for them to get here? Jun Changshao asked. Xie Guangquan said. If Huayang County and Heian County choose to resist, it will take about a year and a half. If they choose to surrender, Xinjiang County's army will march straight in and reach Azure Sun County within a month. A month, huh? Jun Changshao said. Mayor Xie, how many soldiers does Azure Sun City have? 50,000. Xie Guangquan said. Azure Sun City had a population of 3,600,000. However, those who were qualified to enter the battlefield were at least martial disciples. Therefore, there were not many of them. Moreover, Xinjiang County had sent their elites. If ordinary first and second grade martial disciples were to enter the battlefield, it would be the same as sending them to their deaths. Jun Changshao frowned and said, That's a bit too little. He was not an expert in this kind of military matters. Therefore, he called Shui Rengui over and informed him of the situation. He asked, Hall Master Shui, what do you think? Shui Rengui frowned and said, This Xinjiang County's Bai Ruihu seems to be one of the top 10 generals in Yangzhou. That's right. Xie Guangquan said. Jun Changshao was speechless. Not only was it an elite army, but it was also one of the top 10 generals. Xinjiang County's invasion this time showed that they were determined to win. Shui Rengui said. Based on the current situation, we can only choose to defend to the death. As for how long we can defend, it depends on when the other party chooses to attack. It was very pessimistic. However, there was no other way. The disparity in military strength was too great. It was too difficult to contend against the elite army of Xinjiang County. Sigh. Xie Guangquan let out a long sigh. His eyes were filled with determination as he said, Even if I have to sacrifice every single one of my soldiers, I will defend Azure Sun City to the death. His home was not to be invaded. Surrender? Only a coward would do such a thing. Xie Guangquan left. He had to prepare for the upcoming war. He had already made up his mind to live and die with Azure Sun City. Hall Master Shui, Jun Changshao said, Is there no better way? Shui Rengui shook his head and said, Sect Master, Azure Sun County is only a grade 9 city. If we are targeted by a large county, we will only be exterminated. The big fish would eat the small fish. This was an unchanging fact. Jun Changshao sat on the chair and supported his chin with his hands. He said with a firm gaze, My iron bone is in Azure Sun City. Naturally, I cannot stand by and do nothing. Shui Rengui said, Sect Master, we are a powerful sect. We don't have to participate in the war. My iron bone disciples are mostly from Azure Sun City. This is their home and their loved ones. How can we watch as it is invaded by foreign enemies? Wuxia had experienced 100 years of humiliation. Many men had shed their blood for their home. Although Jun Changshao was born in a prosperous era, he knew that every man had a responsibility when his country was in trouble. Now that he had transmigrated to another world, he was not only a man of Azure Sun City, but also a man of Wuxia. When his home was invaded, he would definitely share it, and not choose to live an ignoble existence. Understood, Shui Rengui said solemnly. If Sect Master wants to defend Azure Sun City, I believe that we can expand the members of Wolf Rider Hall and form a cavalry division. We can catch them off guard and catch them off guard. It was impossible to directly confront Xinjiang County's army. Therefore, they could only rely on their strengths. A Wolf Rider Hall equipped with hurricane wolves was undoubtedly Ironbone's strength. It was also the most suitable for killing enemies on the battlefield. As long as they had perfect coordination, it would not be a problem for them to fight 100 enemies, let alone 10 enemies. In the era of cold weapons, the strongest army was definitely cavalry. With a strong cavalry, they would definitely be successful. In the past, the Mongol Empire had almost conquered Europe by relying on cavalry. Although the Song dynasty had a strong economy, they had lost the 13 prefectures of Yinyan and did not have a suitable horse farm. They were unable to form a strong cavalry division and were suppressed by Liao, Xixia, Jin, and Mongolia. Of course, this cavalry division mainly relied on horses. Jun Changxiao's Wolf Rider Hall mainly relied on hurricane wolves. The two were not on the same level. Shui Rengui was confident that as long as they had a certain number of members and went through strict training, they would be able to create a strong cavalry division. Jun Changxiao said, "There are only about 1,000 hurricane wolves. I can only equip Wolf Rider Hall with another 500 disciples." He had brought the hurricane wolves back to the sect in the 10,000 Beast Mountain range to prepare for a rainy day. It was reasonable that they would be of use in today's war. Shui Rengui thought for a while and said, "A cavalry division of 1,000 people, as long as they are well trained, it will not be a problem to fight against an army of tens of thousands." "What if they are equipped with excellent equipment?" Jun Changxiao asked. Shui Rengui said, "Then they will be like a tiger that has grown wings. I will gather the disciples. You go and pick 500. Jun Changxiao added, "However, time is limited. They must be trained within a month." Shui Rengui said confidently, "My sect's disciples have strong bodies and a good foundation. They will definitely train faster than ordinary men. Not to mention a month, half a month will be enough." Chapter 438. On the training field, the Ironbone disciples were gathered and Shui Rengui selected them one by one. To be honest, with all kinds of resources, the Ironbone disciples' foundation was really good. Although some of them were slightly thin, when they tore off their clothes and revealed their muscles, they were definitely big. If it weren't for the fact that there were too few hurricane wolves, Shui Rengui would have chosen all of them to create more wolf cavalry. After the selection was made, Jun Changxiao gave each of them a hurricane wolf and began the most professional military training. Their bodies were good and their foundation was solid. The main point of the training was how to make them form perfect cooperation faster. At first, Shui Rengui was a little embarrassed. But after the training began, he unexpectedly found that these disciples' cooperation was surprisingly good. Most of them played football every day, and over time, they naturally formed a tacit understanding. For example, Su Xiaoma and Li Fei. The two of them didn't need to rely on voice transmission at all. With just a glance, they could make an exquisite 2-to-1 cooperation. After the preliminary training, Shui Rengui exclaimed, "They are all good seedlings. Good foundation and strong consciousness. If he couldn't train them in a short period of time, how could he have the face to be the Wolf Cavalry Hall's hall master?" Shui Rengui even dared to boldly predict that once these 1,000 members were trained, they would definitely be incomparably sharp spears, invincible and invincible. Since we want to build a cavalry regiment, we definitely can't lack equipment. In the study, Jun Changxiao murmured, "Close combat cold-edge sword, long-range overlord spear, strong iron shield, soft silk armor, all must be equipped." If he wanted to build a cavalry regiment, he had to build the most elite ones. Of course, more importantly, he had to have hard strength. The disciples' cultivation must be improved in the shortest time possible. It's best to choose to defend Heian County and Huaiyang County to the death. This will buy more time for my iron bone to become stronger. Jun Changxiao murmured, "Of course, if they chose to surrender, it would be enough to kill them in a month. We can't rely too much on the Wolf Cavalry Hall. The strength of the other disciples must also break through in the shortest time possible." Jun Changxiao murmured, "If we can give 40 or 50 days, that would be perfect." Why? Because at that time, the materials for refining the martial master pill would be available. At that time, he would definitely be able to create even more martial masters. You have many soldiers and generals? My apologies. My iron bone disciples are all martial masters and ride hurricane wolves. There were also all kinds of weapons and equipment. Although they were inferior in terms of quantity, their combat prowess was not necessarily inferior. Hall Master Li. Jun Changshao summoned Li Luoqiu and said, "Order the members of Drizzle Hall to go to the major cities to purchase ores and materials. They must be sent to the sect as soon as possible. A large amount of equipment would definitely require a large amount of materials." "Yes, AI." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "If there is no limit to the number of AK-47s that can be purchased, and all the disciples are equipped with them, they can stand on the city walls of Qingyang City and attack anyone who comes. That would be awesome." The system said, "Even if there are no restrictions, with the host's contribution points, it's impossible for everyone to have one." "Fuck, I was just thinking about it. Can you stop hitting me?" Jun Changshao collapsed. The system said, "I'm not hitting the host. I'm just telling the host to recognize reality and stop daydreaming." Jun Changshao was too lazy to pay attention to it. He continued to think about how to deal with Jinyang County's attack. When he thought about AK-47s, he thought about sniper rifles. "Right." Jun Changshao slapped his forehead and said, "Although there is a limit to the number of AK-47s, there is no limit to sniper rifles. We can buy more and equip the Drizzle Hall to set up ambushes on the city walls. It's not a bad idea to be responsible for sniping important people. 500 contribution points for one," the system said. Jun Changshao said, "As long as we can defend against foreign enemies and protect our home, I'm willing to spend all my contribution points." Ding! The host has spent 1,000 contribution points. Godly Modified AWM Sniper Rifle X2. It has been transported into the space ring. Ding! Sect contribution points. 371250000. Although Sect leader Jun spoke with great generosity, when it came to action, he only bought 2 sniper rifles, including Xiao Ziji and Li Luoqiu's. Ironbone already had 4 AK-47s. After that, he bought 4 silencers, 4 8x scopes, 4 extended capacity magazines, and 4 magically modified armor. Although there were many things, they were not expensive. They all cost 20 contribution points, so he only spent 320 contribution points in total. Sect leader. At this time, Li Luoqiu, who had just left, walked in and said, "I've just received news from all the cities. All the ores and materials are out of stock." "Out of stock?" Jun Changshao was surprised. Li Luoqiu explained, "All the cities in Jinyang County have received letters of persuasion to surrender. The city lords are busy recruiting soldiers and purchasing ores to forge weapons." "I see." Jun Changshao understood and continued, "Although Jinyang County's level is not high, the city lords are all unyielding men. They have no intention of surrendering. Once a city falls, it will become a lowly person, or even a slave to the victor. Those with courage will naturally defend it to the end." Li Luoqiu said. Jun Changshao said, "Send people to buy ores and materials from other counties. It doesn't matter if the price is a little higher." "Understood." Li Luoqiu was about to leave. "Wait," Jun Changshao said. "I still have 2 sniper rifles with me. Equip them with Drizzle Hall." Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "Sect leader, are you saying that you want Drizzle Hall to set up an ambush in the dark and use the sniper rifles to assassinate important enemy figures?" "That is the plan," Jun Changshao said. Li Luoqiu took the AWM sniper rifle and said, "I will choose suitable members." After everything was settled, Jun Changshao focused on cultivation. He hoped to break through to the peak of Wuzong in the shortest time possible. Shuirengui trained the wolf riders while Li Luoqiu trained the members to use the sniper rifles. The disciples of the sect also stepped up their cultivation. The atmosphere in Ironbone's airspace was slightly solemn. A few days later, all kinds of ores and materials were sent over from different counties. Because of the urgent need to forge equipment, Sect leader Jun bought them all at a price higher than the market price. He did not lack money. Ding! 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 All kinds of weapons and equipment were forged in the forging pavilion. Time passed and it never returned. Half a month later, under Shuirengui's training day and night, the 1,000 members of Wolf Rider Hall not only underwent professional military training, but their cultivation also improved greatly. The members of Drizzle Hall had already mastered the AWM sniper rifle and could accurately hit enemies from 1,000 meters away. With the support of resources such as the spirit-gathering formation, the cultivation of Ironbone disciples also increased rapidly. The average cultivation had reached the level of a rank 6 martial disciple. This was because most of them had poor aptitudes. If they were slightly higher and reached the middle rank, they could easily break through to the peak of martial disciple. More than 10 days passed just like that. The overall strength of Ironbone disciples increased from rank 6 to rank 9. They cultivated very hard and were constantly using the spirit-gathering formation. Therefore, more than 20 days of cultivation was equivalent to 200 or 300 days of cultivation for others. With high-intensity spirit chi and the replenishment of spirit-gathering pills, it was not an exaggeration to go from a low-level martial disciple to a rank 9 martial disciple in 200 or 300 days. Li Qingyang and the others were also cultivating. Relying on the majestic spirit chi and various resources, they all reached the level of peak martial master. This was a threshold. Whether one could break through to Wuzong depended not on their attributes, but on their understanding of martial arts. Whoosh! In the cultivation room, a surge of majestic energy whizzed out. Jun Changxiao was in the middle of it. Pieces of dim spirit stones were scattered on the ground, and his whole body was surrounded by the aura of advancement. About an hour later, he successfully stepped into the peak of Wuzong from rank 9. In the past, he relied on a large number of spirit stones and the 30 times spirit gathering formation to advance 2 ranks in a short time. Now he needed more than 20 days and 100 times more spirit chi to break through to the peak. It was clear that the higher the rank, the harder it was to cultivate. Ding! Host has broken through to the peak of Wuzong. Requirement met. Epic level mission activated. Jun Changxiao opened his eyes and murmured, "As expected, every time I reach the highest level of a rank, the epic level mission will be activated." 3 updates, please vote. Chapter 439. Jun Changxiao opened the data panel out of habit and clicked on the epic mission. The content was epic mission. 4 mission details. Xinjiang County is under attack. Qingyang County is in danger. Hosts must lead the disciples to defend Qingyang City successfully. Mission failure. Qingyang City is breached. Mission reward. The core of this epic mission was to defend Qingyang City. This is too simple. Jun Changxiao was speechless. You should at least give me a goal and let me know how to complete the mission. Now all I have to do is defend Qingyang City. No. Recalling his previous experience, Jun Changxiao muttered, "There must be something hidden in this mission." As for what was hidden, he had no way of knowing. Ask the system? It would be strange if it could tell him. The system was gratified. I like how the host knows his own limits. Scram. Jun Changxiao rubbed his chin and muttered, "Seems like I have to participate in the epic mission." As a sect, he could choose to close his doors and not participate in the secular war. However, now that he had reached the peak of Wuzong and was faced with an epic mission, he had to participate, whether it was for his homeland or for the reward. Fortunately, I am defending. If I had to attack, I would be screwed, Jun Changxiao said. Wait, there was another problem. The 4th epic mission did not give a specific time. Jun Changxiao frowned. I can only wait for Xinjiang County's army to attack and defend Qingyang City? That's right, the system said. Jun Changxiao scratched his head and said, if Heian County and Huayang County stubbornly resist for a year or 2, wouldn't I be stuck at the peak of Wuzong for a year or 2? The system said. Therefore, the host should pray that they choose to surrender quickly. That way, Xinjiang County will be free to attack Qingyang County. Jun Changxiao curled his lips and said, I can't wait for them to resist for a while and have more time to develop. The mission condition was to defend Qingyang City. Now that the Xinjiang County's army was charging over, even if they managed to hold on, they would definitely have to pay a hefty price. If Ironbone was given more time, and the disciples broke through to a higher level, not only would they be able to hold the fort easily, but they would also be able to reduce the casualty rate. Kill. On the spacious grassland of the Ironbone Mountain, 1,000 members of the Wolf Rider Hall held overlord spears in their right hands as they rode their hurricane wolves and charged forward. Zhongyi was at the forefront. This loyal and righteous person was selected to be a member of the Wolf Rider Hall. Because of his high realm and his hard work and training, he was recommended by Shui Rengui and appointed by Jun Changshao as the commander of the cavalry of wolves. Although it hadn't been long since he joined the Ironbone sect, Zhongyi, who possessed a high-grade spiritual root, had already reached the level of a 9th-grade martial master. In the past, he had been wandering outside, risking his life for resources. Who would have thought that he would be able to break through so quickly in such a short time? Zhongyi had completely fused with the Ironbone. If he was asked to go into battle, he would definitely go through fire and water without hesitation. Shua. On the mountain peak, Shui Rengui waved his war banner. Change formation. Zhongyi shouted loudly. Behind him, the members of the cavalry of wolves gathered together like a river. From high up in the sky, they changed from scattered to an indestructible spear form. Sect Master, Shui Rengui said, "This is the linear spear formation that I've researched. It can ruthlessly tear apart the opponent's defense line." Jun Changshao nodded and said, "Very professional." Shui Rengui said, "If it's on the battlefield, I'm confident that I can break through any defensive formation and throw the enemy into disarray." His confidence came from the fact that the members of the cavalry of wolves had strong cultivation, good teamwork, and excellent equipment. Even if it was a 3rd-grade, 5th-grade martial disciple army made up of tens of thousands of people, they could still defeat the enemy. Jun Changshao said, "If the Xinjiang County's army attacks, our cavalry of wolves should be able to give them a surprise." However, Shui Rengui frowned and said, "I'm worried that Bai Ruihu's army will be equipped with exploding demon crossbows. These kinds of weapons with great destructive power will cause great trouble for the cavalry of wolves." Jun Changshao waved his hand lightly and took out the exploding demon crossbow he had obtained from the evil cultivators of the Demon Channeling Palace. He said, "You're talking about this thing?" Shui Rengui said, "That's right. How could the sect master have something like this?" "I've sinned." Jun Changshao shouted down. "Raise your unbreakable iron shield. I'll try shooting an arrow." Xiao Ziji summoned the unbreakable iron shield and said, "Sect master, do you want to activate the barrier?" "No need." As he spoke, Jun Changshao pulled the bowstring and stuck the exploding demon crossbow in it. Shui Rengui's expression changed slightly. He said, "Sect master, the power of this exploding demon crossbow is comparable to that of an ordinary peak martial master. The iron shield won't be able to block it." Whoosh! Sect master Jun pulled the trigger. The exploding demon crossbow instantly turned into a streak of light and shot out. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and a gust of wind swept up. When the smoke and dust settled, Xiao Zui was still standing in his original position. The surface of the sturdy iron shield in front of him had only been charred black by the bombardment. Shui Rengui's expression was sluggish. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He knew that the sect master had equipped the members with many pieces of equipment, but he never thought that a single iron shield could actually block the attack of 50,000 kilograms of exploding demon crossbow. Xiao Ziji said, "Sect master, the unbreakable iron shield should be able to block 4 or 5 arrows." Hall Master Shui. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "If I'm not wrong, the cost of these arrows with explosive power shouldn't be low, right?" Shui Rengui said, "1 arrow costs 10,000 taels. In other words, every arrow shot is equivalent to shooting out a man-made spirit stone. I don't think that Xinjiang County can be used to shoot ordinary wooden arrows for fun," Jun Changshao said. "Impossible," Shui Rengui said firmly. "Even if it's a county of a higher level, it won't be used to shoot wooden arrows for fun. After all, the cost is too high." Jun Changshao said, "So the members of Wolf Rider Hall have the unbreakable iron shield. Can the exploding demon crossbows cause any trouble?" "No." Shui Rengui completely relaxed. With shields with extremely high defense, the highly mobile Wolf Rider Hall would only be able to unleash higher combat power. Furthermore, Jun Changshao said, if they really dare to take out the exploding demon crossbows, I guarantee that they won't have a chance to shoot. I'll first use a chain explosion. Chain explosion? Xuerengui's face was blank. Hall Master Li. Jun Changshao said, show Hall Master Xue the results of your Drizzle Hall's recent training. Okay. Li Luoqiu snapped her fingers. In the distance, two members of Drizzle Hall, who had been ready for a long time, crouched on the ground and set up the AWM sniper rifles in front of them. After a simple check, they decisively pressed the trigger. Whoosh! Whoosh! A slight sound of wind breaking could be heard. Two streams of light flew over at an extremely fast speed and accurately hit a fist-sized rock in the distance, instantly shattering it. When Xuerengui saw this, he immediately widened his eyes. The distance between the two disciples and the rock was at least 5,000 feet, about 1,500 meters. Yet they could accurately hit the rock. This was simply extremely valiant. Crack! Crack! The two members pulled the bolt and loaded the bullets. Li Tiantian walked over and threw the two rocks into the air. Whoosh! Whoosh! As they fell, the bullets were fired again. Bang! Bang! The two rocks were instantly shattered. The corner of Xuerengui's mouth twitched violently. Shattering the flying rocks with such precision, it was too accurate. Hall Master Xue, Jun Changshao said with a smile. If we place the members of Drizzle Hall in a secret place, and the other party uses the exploding demon crossbows, wouldn't it be equivalent to collective suicide? Xuerengui imagined a large number of enemy soldiers setting up the exploding demon crossbows and loading the exploding demon crossbows, only to have the arrowheads hit by small streams of light. This was definitely a chain explosion. Sect Master, Xuerengui said seriously. If they dare to use it, they're definitely digging their own graves. Jun Changshao said, if the strength of our Iron Bone disciples is a little stronger, for example, if all of them break through to the martial master level, do you think we can defend Qingyang City? All of them break through to the martial master level? There were more than 2,500 disciples in the sect. If they really reached the martial master level, they would form an extremely terrifying combat power. With his experience as a general, Xuerengui replied, I'm 100% confident. Jun Changshao thought to himself, it's best if Heian County and Huayang County can delay for a while until the herbs to refine the martial master pill are ripe. It wouldn't take too long, about 20 days. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.